Chapter 103. Ning Xueluo tried to persuade her, "Junior sister Ning, I know you feel uncomfortable, but you are indeed at fault in this matter. You can't implicate the company for your personal grudges. The only way now is to minimize the impact." She calmly looked at Ning Xueluo, who was trying to protect the company, and said quietly, "Senior sister, if I remember correctly, it was Zhao Qingqing who set me up from the beginning to the end. I always remember Sister Chang's teaching and don't lose face for the company. Everything I do is for the company's interests. I swallowed my anger and didn't dare to trouble the company even though I was slandered. It was not until some kind-hearted netizens and people in the same industry stood up for me that I was cleared. Now the netizens and fans are protesting against Zhao Qingqing being a mistress. It's clear that Zhao Qingqing is unilaterally disregarding the company's interests, framing artists of the same company and tarnishing the company's image. Senior sister, do you mean that a mad dog chased after a person and fell into a ditch and died? How can it be a person's fault? If she sent this Weibo post to forgive Zhao Qingqing, the reputation that she had spent so much effort to clear up would definitely be ruined. Wasn't it stupid to forgive such a person when the public was so agitated? Ning Xueluo was almost choked to death by Ning Shi's words. What kind of kind-hearted netizens? It was her who exposed the scandals. How could she be so innocent and calm? Zhao Qingqing, who had been quiet for a while, was immediately provoked by these words. "Ning Shi, who are you calling a mad dog? Make it clear. You." Seeing that Zhao Qingqing was about to make a scene again, Feng Haoyang interrupted her, "You don't have to send an apology letter." "Really?" Zhao Qingqing immediately looked happy, but the next second, she heard Feng Haoyang continued, "Qingqing, write a statement to quit the entertainment circle." Zhao Qingqing immediately screamed, "What? You want me to quit the entertainment circle? Why should I quit the entertainment circle? I don't want to write that kind of thing." Feng Haoyang looked impatient. "I asked you to write it yourself to show you respect. Don't be so shameless. She's just a mistress. There are so many actresses in the entertainment circle who are mistresses. Why should I quit the entertainment circle?" Zhao Qingqing was not convinced. "Because only you are stupid enough to let everyone know. What does this have to do with me? It's all because that bitch, Han Ying, betrayed me. Why didn't you go after her? She has already resigned. How am I supposed to pursue this matter? Han Ying is the agent with the best temper in the company. Ask yourself honestly, other than her, who else can stand your temper? It's fine if you always yell at her, but when her son had a high fever of 40 degrees and wanted to go to the hospital, you wouldn't let her go no matter what. In the end, when she rushed over in the middle of the night, her son was so sick that he was admitted to the ICU. He's still in critical condition." Feng Haoyang scolded them one by one. Not to mention Han Ying, even he was tired of dealing with Zhao Qingqing's messes. Zhao Qingqing did not think that she had done anything wrong. Instead, she said nonchalantly, "I'm not dead, am I?" In that kind of situation, there was a doctor. Even if she went, it would be useless. Did she really have to torture me like this? Until now, Zhao Qingqing still could not understand why Han Ying, who had always been a coward, would suddenly do such a thing. She had divorced her husband, and her son was a medicine jar. He needed a lot of medical fees every month. Without this job, how was she going to support the family? No matter how she guessed, she would never have guessed that a character like Liang Feixing would personally deal with a small fry like her. Chapter 104. Feng Haoyang pinched his forehead and finally gave up on communicating. Arguing with a fool was definitely the most idiotic thing to do. The company had spent a lot of effort on Zhao Qingqing, but this matter was destined to be irreversible. No matter how big the loss was, they could only abandon her. Seeing that Feng Haoyang had made up his mind, Zhao Qingqing hurriedly pounced on Ning Xueluo like a life-saving straw. "Sister Xueluo, please help me. Let Sister Chang carry me. I promise I'll be obedient. I promise to send an apology letter." When Chang Li heard this, she was immediately horrified. He wanted her to take over Zhao Qingqing? Ning Xueluo wouldn't trick her like that, would she? Of course, Ning Xueluo wouldn't be as stupid as Zhao Qingqing. She said with embarrassment and regret, "Qingqing, it's not that I don't want to help you. You heard Ningxi's words just now. She doesn't want to help. Besides, this is the company's decision. I can't do anything about it. As soon as the news came out, she knew that Jiao Qingqing was doomed. Feng Haoyang just wanted to use her last bit of value to drag Ningxi into trouble. Unfortunately, Feng Haoyang had already seen that an apology was useless and might drag another artist of the company into trouble. In the end, he gave up Jiao Qingqing. She had thought that it was a good knife to deal with Ningxi, but who knew that she was so stupid that she not only fell into it, but also made Ningxi popular. How could she waste energy on such a person? Ningxi, you bitch. Whore. Just you wait, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Jiao Qingqing finally lost all hope and vented her anger on Ningxi. In the end, Feng Haoyang asked the security guards to pull her out. Towards this kind of person, Ningxi didn't even detest him, only pity him. Even now, he still didn't know that he had been used as cannon fodder. Feng Haoyang looked at Ningxi and his expression softened a lot. Ningxi, work hard on this film. If the effect is good, the company will focus on training you. But what Xue Luo said just now is also reasonable. It is better for you to keep a low profile and not attract unnecessary trouble. From Ningxi's involvement in the scandal to Jiao Qingqing's withdrawal from the entertainment circle, the whole thing was like a perfect crisis PR. Although Feng Haoyang had always suspected that someone was behind it, he couldn't find any flaws, so he could only attribute it to Ningxi's good luck. Thank you, Director Feng. I will. Ningxi pretended to be surprised and frightened. After leaving the conference room, Ningxi went to the washroom and Ning Xueluo followed her. Ning Xueluo crossed her arms over her chest and looked at her sarcastically. Ningxi, aren't you afraid that you'll be exposed one day by digging up other people's dirt? Ningxi narrowed her eyes coldly. Then she turned around and said nonchalantly, who doesn't have any scandals in this circle? Haven't you? Miss Ning. Ningxi deliberately emphasized the title of Miss Ning, and then pretended to be in a trance. Speaking of which, I suddenly realized that the title of Jiao Qingqing, the fake daughter but the real mistress, is surprisingly suitable for you. Wouldn't I be able to save on the title when I attack you? Ning Xueluo felt as if someone had stepped on her sore foot. She immediately said angrily, what fake daughter? I've been in the Ning family since I was born, and I'm the only daughter my father has acknowledged. As for Su Yang, you're the one who's useless and can't keep his heart. Do you think anyone will believe your nonsense? Ningxi drawled. Then, do you want to try? Why don't I just release my little secret too? I still haven't found the whereabouts of the 2 male prostitutes you bribed. Maybe I can find something unexpected if I look for them publicly. Chapter 105. This time Ning Xueluo's face completely changed and she almost screamed, Ningxi, you lunatic. She was not afraid that Ningxi would overestimate herself and want to compete with her for status. What she was most afraid of was that Ningxi would bite her to death at all costs. Ha ha! Looking at Ning Xueluo's pale face, Ningxi couldn't help chuckling and patted her shoulder with a relaxed expression. Miss Ning, don't worry. I'm just joking. A scum like you doesn't deserve me to die with you. Speaking of this, Ningxi's careless eyes suddenly became extremely cold. She lowered her voice and whispered in her ear like a devil crawling out of hell, but, if you threaten me with that thing again in the future, it's hard to guarantee that I won't lose control of myself and do something bad. In the words of your stupid teammate, even if I die, I will die with you. Jiao Qingqing, that idiot, is just outwardly strong but inwardly weak. But I'm different. With that, Ningxi let go of Ning Xueluo's shoulder and left. Ning Xueluo failed to threaten Ningxi and was threatened instead. As soon as Ningxi left, she instantly collapsed to the ground and then kicked the door heavily with a gloomy face. No, she must find a way to get rid of Ningxi, otherwise, as long as she existed, everything she had might disappear at any time. She would never allow this to happen. After leaving the company, Ningxi had nothing to do in the afternoon and was going to the shopping mall. Last time she promised to buy clothes for Xiaobao. At the thought of Xiaobao, her gloomy mood instantly brightened and she happily went shopping. After arriving, Ningxi went straight to the children's clothing area. Seeing all kinds of children's clothing, Ningxi was so excited that she plunged into it. She was even crazier than when she usually bought clothes by herself. Speaking of it, some aspects of her life had really changed dramatically after she met Xiaobao. In the past, when she passed by baby product stores, children's clothing stores and other similar places, she always took a detour. Now when she saw these things, she no longer thought of those suffocating memories, but cute little buns. She wanted to buy cute and fun things for him as long as she saw them. It was just like falling in love. The things in this shopping mall were all big brands and generally very expensive, including children's clothing. But since they were for Xiaobao, she was naturally willing to spend them. She could save money by buying fewer sets of cosmetics. Today, Ningxi was wearing a dress designed by an unknown designer whom she liked very much. Although it was beautiful, it was a pity that it was no match for a famous brand logo. The shop assistant liked to order according to the person, so she didn't pay attention to her. Instead, she attentively followed behind a lady wearing a full set of Chanel. Ningxi wandered around and finally saw a set of clothes in the corner that attracted her very much. This was a sapphire blue suit. Not only was the color super eye-catching, but there was also a Superman badge with S written inside the triangle on the chest. Most importantly, she had a lot of clothes with Superman elements, so she could wear parent-child outfits with Xiaobao at any time. Ningxi's heart skipped a beat when the word parent-child outfit suddenly popped up in her mind. She suddenly realized that this feeling of wanting to give the best to the other party was actually the feeling of treating one's own child. Ningxi was silent for a long time with complicated feelings. Then she went to the shop assistant and said, "Miss, I want this set of clothes. Please wrap it up for me." The shop assistant did not respond immediately. Instead, she reminded him coldly, "This set costs 12,000. I know. Did you see the tag? Please wrap it up for me." The shop assistant's expression softened a little. She smiled and said softly, "Do you need me to wrap it into a gift box for you?" Before Ningxi could respond, a hand wearing a jade bracelet suddenly reached in and snatched the clothes. "Oh, this is good. I want it." Chapter 106. I'm sorry, the lady next to you has already taken a fancy to this dress, the shop assistant reminded apologetically. The woman who snatched the dress was the Chanel lady from earlier. She raised her chin unhappily. "Have you paid for it?" "Well, I haven't. If you haven't paid for it, it's ownerless." "I want this one. Give me the bill immediately," Chanel ordered in a matter-of-fact tone. As soon as she finished speaking, her hand suddenly felt empty. The dress was already in Ningxi's hands. Chanel immediately became angry. "Why did you snatch my dress?" Ningxi's tone was even more matter-of-fact than hers. "Didn't you say that if you haven't paid for it, it's ownerless? You can snatch it, but others can't." "You." Chanel was about to explode, but she suddenly stared at Ningxi's face in bewilderment. "Ningxi. You're Ningxi?" As if she had discovered something funny, Chanel pulled her companion over. "Xianxian, come and see who this is. That country bumpkin from the Ning family actually came to a place like this to snatch my dress." "You mean Ningxi? How is that possible?" Her companion looked at the woman in front of her in surprise. She had a head of naturally long black curly hair, perfect vintage makeup, and the light purple off-shoulder dress she was wearing was not from a famous brand, but it was especially fitting for her temperament. She exuded a sense of arrogance and nobility, and there was no trace of the timid country girl from before. "It's her. I wouldn't mistake this face for someone else. A country girl is a country girl. She just changed her skin, and it's a low-quality skin at that." Chanel's tone was firm. Her companion looked at her carefully again and found that the face was indeed Ningxi's. In fact, Ningxi had a pretty good foundation 5 years ago, but she didn't know how to dress up at all and always looked like a country bumpkin. The dress that she wore at the banquet was obviously a size too big, the color was old-fashioned, and it was even an imitation. It left a deep impression. Why would she buy children's clothes for no reason? I've never heard that she's married. Who knows which wild man it is? Maybe she's pregnant before marriage. Didn't Su Yang dump her because she cheated and fooled around with another man? The two women echoed each other for a long time, and Ningxi finally remembered who they were. Chanel's name was Ying Fanglin, and her companion's name was Jin Shenxian. They were both socialites in that circle, members of Ning Xueluo's boudoir group. They were also the ones who teased her the most back then. Later on, she heard that Ying Fanglin had married well and had given birth to a son for her husband in the first year of their marriage, so she became even more arrogant. Jin Shenxian also had a fiancé with a good family background. He didn't expect to find such a good item in the children's clothing section. These two people didn't seem to know that she had entered the entertainment circle. She didn't want to argue with them in public, so she ignored them and said to the shop assistant, "Miss, please pay the bill for me." Although the two of them were not to be trifled with, she saw them first, so the shop assistant quickly gave her a bill and swiped her card. However, there was a problem when he swiped the card. The shop assistant's expression was a little ugly. "I'm sorry, miss, but your card balance is insufficient." "What?" She was dumbfounded. Only then did she remember that she had replaced her car with an imported engine last month, so she didn't have much money left on her card. Ying Fanglin immediately laughed at the situation. "Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. You don't have any money, but you're still trying to impress me." Jin Shenxian shrugged her shoulders in disdain. "I thought I'd make some progress after studying abroad for a few years, but a pheasant will always be a pheasant. You'll never become a phoenix." Ying Fanglin looked at the shop assistant proudly. "Miss, can you give me this set of clothes now?" "Yes, madam," the shop assistant said as she reached for the clothes in Ningxi's hand. She didn't let go. Ying Fanglin immediately shouted, "What? You don't have money, but you want to be pretentious? Do you think you're in the countryside?" She held the clothes in one hand and took out a black card from her bag with the other. She handed it to the shop assistant and said, "Swipe this." Chapter 107. She had planned to pay for it herself as a gift to Little Bun, but she hadn't expected such an embarrassing situation. She really liked this dress. She felt uncomfortable at the thought of Little Bun being robbed by Ying Fanglin. In the end, she took out the black card Lu Tingxiao gave her to pay for it. The moment she took out the card, the shop assistant and the two women were dumbfounded. The shop assistant was experienced and knowledgeable, so she naturally recognized the card at a glance. Ying Fanglin and Jin Shenxian had never seen the real thing, but women in that circle were naturally more interested in these things, so they immediately recognized it as the King of Cards, the limited edition black gold card with unlimited overdraft. The threshold for this card was extremely high, the annual fee was terrifying, and the service was top-notch around the world. Since it wasn't released to the public, one couldn't apply for it. Instead, one of the platinum card users was invited to apply for it, so one couldn't get it even if one had the money. Those who could get this card were all politicians, billionaires, and celebrities from various countries. Ying Fanglin's face stiffened and she snorted. "Is it a fake card?" "Miss, you have to check it carefully." Although the shop assistant had seen it before, she had only seen it once. She cautiously took the card and began to operate the card machine. 10 seconds later, the shop assistant immediately put on a smiling face and bowed 90 degrees. "Miss, it's done. I'll help you wrap it up." She nodded. "Thank you." Ying Fanglin and Jin Shenxian were dumbfounded. They looked at Shi as if they had seen a ghost. Shi took the wrapped dress and turned to leave. Watching Shi leave in high heels, Ying Fanglin gritted her teeth and said maliciously, "What are you so proud of? You must be the mistress of some rich old man. Do you think you can marry into a rich family just because you gave birth to a son for him? Yes, you'll be killed by the legal wife one day," Jin Shenxian echoed. After leaving the children's clothing area, Shi passed by the men's clothing area on her way downstairs. Well, it seemed to be the brand that Lu Tingxiao usually wore. The overall style was very similar to Lu Tingxiao's, with black, white and grey as the main colors, looking aloof and abstinent. After a few glances, her eyes moved to a young brand next door that was popular in recent years. In comparison, the color and style were much more youthful and lively. She touched her chin and suddenly wanted to buy Lu Tingxiao a set of clothes. Women were creatures that originally wanted to buy a pair of shoes, but ended up buying clothes, bags, jewelry, and a bunch of other things to match it. Thus, after buying it for Little Bun, The more she thought about it, the more she couldn't resist the urge to have Lu Tingxiao have a similar style. After hesitating for 3 minutes, she made her choice. Buy. Therefore, she entered the store and directly bought the sapphire blue suit that the mannequin at the door was wearing, which was the same color as Xiao Bao. At the same time, Lu Tingxiao, who was listening to Lu Jingli's report in the president's office of Lu Group, received 2 text messages in a row. He opened it and saw that it was a consumer notification from the bank. She swiped his card. A satisfied smile appeared on Lu Tingxiao's solemn and indifferent face. Lu Jingli looked at his brother's expression and understood. Sister-in-law's message? Lu Tingxiao, no. No. That's strange. Lu Jingli immediately looked over the table curiously. Hey, aren't they just 2 text notifications from the bank? And they're consumer notifications, not revenue notifications. Was there a need to put on such a sweet expression? TSK, men in love are sometimes really hard to understand. Chapter 108. In the evening, she went straight to the Lu's house with the spoils. Seeing the old butler watering the flowers at the door, she hurriedly greeted him. Grandpa Butler, where is Xiao Bao? The old butler was dressed in a black tuxedo with a neat bow tie. When he saw Ningxi, he said respectfully, Miss Xiaoxi is back. Young master is painting in the garden. Ah, he is painting. I won't disturb him. Where is Mr. Lu? Young master is upstairs. Okay, thank you. Ningxi went upstairs happily. Looking at the girl's energetic back, the old butler had mixed feelings. During this period of time, no matter how wary he was, he couldn't help but have a good impression of this little girl. She was beautiful and sweet, and she was destined to be popular everywhere. What was rare was that she had a sense of propriety. She had never shown any intention to cross the line with young master, and she even didn't pay attention to her image most of the time. In fact, it was very easy to see whether a woman had an intention to a man or not. She could hide it for 1 or 2 days, but after a long time, it was absolutely impossible to hide it. Similarly, it was easy to see whether a man had an intention to a woman or not. Others might not know, but he had seen it from the beginning to the end, so he knew it best. Young master obviously cared about this girl very much. The guest room she lived in was actually designed by young master himself. Even the bedsheets, curtains, clothes, and jewelry in the wardrobe were all handpicked by him. Not only that, on the first day she came here, he told the kitchen her eating habits one by one. Every time she came home late, he must leave food for her. There were so many similar details, even if it was because she was the young master's savior, the eldest young master's meticulous actions seemed to be too much. In fact, as long as the young lady's family background was clean, it would not be a bad thing if she could be with the eldest young master. Ever since the young lady moved in, the eldest young master had become more and more lively, and the youngest young master had also become more and more cheerful. He had watched the eldest young master and the youngest young master grow up, so he was naturally happy to see them. So now he was not worried that she had an ulterior motive, but that she had no ulterior motive. After going upstairs, she couldn't wait to share her spoils, so she directly opened the door of Lu Tingxiao's bedroom. Lu Tingxiao's hair was wet, his upper body naked, and he had a white towel wrapped around his waist. Crystal clear water droplets flowed down his tight abdominal muscles and into his V-line. Ningxi's first reaction wasn't to close her eyes, but to open them wide instead of closing them. She was very repulsed by sex, but this did not prevent her from appreciating beautiful things. Perhaps it was because she had suffered too much after being betrayed that she didn't know why she had unknowingly gone astray. 5 years ago, she was so conservative that she would be shy when she saw a man wearing a singlet and shorts. She wouldn't talk to any stranger except Su Yang, and she wouldn't even take a second look at other handsome men. After about 5 seconds, she came to her senses. She turned around and covered her eyes with 2 paper bags. Sorry, I forgot to knock on the door. Lu Tingxiao chuckled. It's my fault. I forgot to lock the door. Actually, it wasn't that he had forgotten. Ever since she moved in, he had never locked the door. Why are you looking for me? Wait a minute. I'll get dressed first. The girl's short but long gaze was like a fire that ignited every inch of his skin. Fortunately, she turned around in time. Otherwise, he might have lost control of a certain part of his body and exposed himself again. Lu Tingxiao was about to open the cabinet to get clothes when Ningxi suddenly shouted, "Ah, no. Don't wear clothes." Chapter 109. Lu Tingxiao didn't expect the girl to make such a request. He was obviously stunned. Then he stared at the girl's back and said with a slightly raised tone, "What?" Although he was quite happy to fulfill the little girl's beautiful request. Realizing that her words were too ambiguous, Ningxi hurriedly spat, "Don't misunderstand. I meant it literally, there's no deeper meaning behind it." It seems that the literal meaning is also very dirty. Anyway, what I mean is, I bought you a set of clothes when I was shopping today. Do you want to try it on? If you try it on now, you don't have to put it on and take it off to try it on later. Am I very smart? Lu Tingxiao was a little surprised when he heard that. He seemed a little flattered. You bought it for me? He thought she must have bought it for Xiaobao. Yes, but, I used your card. Ningxi touched her nose awkwardly. Actually, I was going to buy it with my own money at first as a gift for Xiaobao. Who knew that I would lose a motorcycle engine last month and have no money on my card, so I had to use your card. Later, when I passed by, I found an adult men's suit that matched the color and style of the one I bought for Xiaobao, so I couldn't help but buy it. I see. Although she didn't buy it for him, it was enough to make him happy. I asked the shop assistant. If you don't like it, you can return it. Hurry up and try it on to see if you like it. Ningxi urged. Lu Tingxiao said without hesitation, I like it. She bought it herself and it was the first time she bought clothes for him. How could he not like it? You haven't seen what it looks like. Ningxi muttered and took a step back. She stretched out her hand and handed one of the bags to him. Lu Tingxiao took the bag. You only bought it for me and Xiaobao. You didn't buy it for yourself. Ningxi sighed. Sigh, I'm short of money. I'll buy it after I get the money. Lu Tingxiao was just about to say that she could use his card when Ningxi took out a black card from the bag. Oh yes, I'll return this to you. It's quite cool to use. Today, I angered a woman who wanted to snatch my clothes to death. Lu Tingxiao could only sigh and change his words. Take it first. I'm usually busy and don't have time to buy things for Xiaobao. If you see something suitable, just buy it. Of course, I'd be happy to let you choose something for me. You trust my taste so much. Just don't take it off on the spot after you try it. With that, Ningxi took back the card. Then I'll give it back to you when I leave. Hurry up and change your clothes, I'll go out first. Just as she was about to take a step forward, her empty hand was suddenly grabbed by the man from behind. Ningxi was startled and subconsciously wanted to turn around, but then she remembered that Lu Tingxiao was still naked, so she could only awkwardly maintain the posture of being held back. What's wrong? Lu Tingxiao slightly tightened his grip on her slender wrist. Ningxi, Xiaobao's condition has been much better recently. He doesn't always pester you. He's very obedient and won't disturb you or affect your work. He just wants to see you every day, wait for you every day, and be happy and at ease every day knowing that you sleep next door to him. I know I have no reason to keep you, but as a father, I can do too little for Xiaobao. I really hope that Xiaobao's happiness can last a little longer. 3 months. Can I stay for another 3 months at most? When you want to leave, I won't force you to stay. During this period of time, you can treat this place as your own home and do whatever you want without any scruples. You can occasionally swear angrily, eat durian and garlic, drink in bars and come back very late. I only have one request for you. In these 3 months, don't bring a man back, okay? Ningxi was almost moved to tears when she heard the first part, but when she heard the last part, she almost vomited blood. The more she listened, the more she felt that Lu Tingxiao was a gentle, virtuous, and obedient wife, while she was a scumbag husband who indulged in debauchery. Chapter 110. Ningxi put on a long face. Lu Tingxiao, are you sure you want to chat with me in this state? Put on your clothes first and we'll talk, okay? Otherwise, it would be hard for her to concentrate and think. Okay. Lu Tingxiao's voice finally came from behind. Ningxi felt as if she had been pardoned and rushed out of the room. Ah, Lu Tingxiao must be a born orator. Every word he said hit her heart, especially the one about Xiao Bao. But if she continued to stay here for 3 months, she was afraid that it would be a little inappropriate. Just as she was in a dilemma, her legs suddenly softened. She looked down and saw that Xiao Bao had run over and was hugging her calf as usual, holding a painting in his hand. Ningxi squatted down and hugged the little boy. Baby, are you done? Xiao Bao nodded. What is it? Can Auntie take a look? Xiao Bao immediately handed the painting to her. Ningxi's eyes became moist with just one look. The person in the painting was still her. The colors in the painting were very bright and dreamy. She was lying on a small bed, holding a storybook in her hand. But the angle of Xiao Bao's painting was the angle of him lying beside her and looking up at her. The entire painting was filled with Xiao Bao's happiness and contentment as he stuck to her side and listened to her story with his head raised. Baby, it's really well painted. Ningxi's heart was completely tilted. She took a deep breath to calm down and kissed the little boy's forehead. Then she said happily, Auntie bought you new clothes. Do you want to try them on? Xiao Bao nodded with sparkling eyes. When Ningxi helped Xiao Bao change and was about to go find Lu Tingxiao had also changed and walked out of the room. Ningxi was quite confident in the clothes she bought for Xiao Bao, but she was not so sure about Lu Tingxiao's. After all, she had never seen Lu Tingxiao wear clothes other than black, white and grey, not to mention a color like royal blue. But when she saw Lu Tingxiao in the clothes, Ningxi was completely dumbfounded. This was too suitable. She had thought that it might look very abrupt or nondescript, but she did not expect the upper body to be so good. It fully displayed his broad shoulders, narrow hips, and long legs. Most importantly, the dull and solemn temperament instantly became bright and lively, and even he looked a lot younger. Lu Tingxiao was pleased by the undisguised amazement in the girl's eyes. How is it? Ningxi nodded vigorously. Too handsome. I feel like I can be a groom with a big red flower hanging on my chest. Lu Tingxiao. This girl's way of praising people was really unique. Don't you think so, Xiao Bao? Is your papa handsome? Ningxi lowered her head and asked the pocket-sized version of Lu Tingxiao. Although Xiao Bao didn't like his father very much, he had to admit that his father looked much better than his usual tanned appearance. Thus, he nodded in respect. Ningxi immediately snapped her fingers proudly. I didn't expect my eyes to be so good. Of course, it's mainly because President Lu has a good foundation and looks good no matter what you wear. But I think it's okay. You'd better wear more bright colors like this. The employees will be in a good mood when they see you, and they will be more efficient. Hearing the words a good foundation is handsome no matter what I wear, Lu Tingxiao couldn't help smiling. Well, if you see something suitable in the future, buy it for me. Chapter 111. Okay. Leave it to me. Ningxi patted her chest confidently. Then she became more and more excited as she looked at the two of them. Oh, I can't help it. I really want to take photos of you. Come here, stand together, stand closer, hold hands. The father and son gave the instructions step by step and cooperated very well with each other. The more Ningxi took photos, the more addicted she became. She completely turned into a fangirl. She took several photos of the father and son on the balcony, the study, and the small garden. Lu Tingxiao stood beside her. He leaned over to take a closer look and praised, "Very good shot." Ningxi waved her hand modestly and said, "My composition skills are average, and I'm using a mobile phone. But you two models are too good, and the backgrounds are very good, so every picture looks like a blockbuster. By the way, Lu Tingxiao, do you have WeChat? I'll add you and send you the photo. I wanted to say this before, who still uses SMS these days, it's too troublesome. Teach Xiaobao how to use WeChat in the future. Yes, search my phone number." Lu Tingxiao was glad that Lu Jingli had forced him to open WeChat. Hey, your nickname is Lu Tingxiao. How uncreative. Ningxi complained as she added Lu Tingxiao as a friend. Lu Tingxiao raised his eyebrows and subconsciously looked at Ningxi's nickname, only to find that he couldn't recognize Chinese characters. The arrows fall from the sky. Why is this nickname so strange? What does that mean? Lu Tingxiao really wanted to ask, but he was afraid that it was internet language. If he asked, it would expose the generation gap between them like last time, so he chose to keep his mouth shut. After adding each other as friends, Ningxi sent all the photos to him. When Lu Tingxiao collected the photos, he inadvertently noticed that Ningxi's signature was, "One day, with a sword in hand, I will kill all the heartless dogs in the world." Lu Tingxiao, after Ningxi sent the photo, she realized that Lu Tingxiao was staring at her autograph with a complicated gaze. Embarrassed, she explained awkwardly, "Well, this is my autograph from when I was a chinibya. I forgot to change it. Isn't it shocking?" Lu Tingxiao chuckled. "It's all right. One day, he would be the one to make her change her signature." Ningxi scratched her head and explained, "And my nickname, it's called Martian. It was quite popular on the internet in those days. Now it's pretty awesome, but I'm used to it and don't want to change it." "Not bad. Can you help me change to a similar one?" Lu Tingxiao requested. "Ha! You really think it's not bad?" Ningxi was shocked by Lu Tingxiao's taste. "Yes." Lu Tingxiao's expression was very serious. "Then, I'll think of one for you later." Ningxi regretted it as soon as she agreed. It was hard to imagine the expressions of Lu Tingxiao's friends in WeChat when they saw that he had changed his nickname to Martian. "That scene was so beautiful, thank you." Lu Tingxiao rarely logged into WeChat. Not long after he logged in, he saw a lot of messages popping up in his family group. It turned out that the two elders of the Lu family were complaining to their relatives that they hadn't seen their grandson for a long time. Their eldest brother seemed to have a girl he liked recently and was pursuing her passionately, so they didn't dare to disturb him at his place. That tone was more like showing off than complaining. "Our boss finally has a girl he likes. It's a girl." Lu Tingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry at his parents' tone. Then he casually sent all the photos that Ningxi had just sent to him to the group. Thus, a few seconds later, the entire family group exploded. Chapter 112. Everyone's first reaction was that Lu Tingxiao, who had been lurking for thousands of years, had appeared in the family chat group. Their second reaction was, "Oh my god, this father and son pair are just like the characters in the pictorial. I want to steal Xiaobao home. I want to marry my daughter to him." If it weren't for the fact that close relatives were not allowed to marry in this society, countless daughters in the family chat group would have been fighting over this. "Oh, my dear grandson is so cute. Oh, my son is so handsome." Old Madame Lu was so excited that she didn't know who to praise first. "Tingxiao, who chose the clothes for you and Xiaobao? Is it the girl you like?" Old Madame Lu could tell that this was definitely not her son's aesthetic style. "Yes. I knew you wouldn't choose this style of clothes. Look at how bright and beautiful this color is. Unlike you, who only knows how to wear gray all day long and make Xiaobao look gray. This family really needs a woman. Did she take the photos too?" Old Master Lu couldn't help but ask. "Yes." Lu Tingxiao replied with a single word of truth. "Not bad." Old Master Lu was obviously very satisfied. Lu Tingxiao didn't like to take photos when he was young, and Xiaobao didn't like to take photos either. Therefore, there were very few photos of the father and son, and even fewer of them together. This group of photos was silently treasured by the two elders. "Oh my god, my future sister-in-law is so amazing. She actually has the ability to make you wear this kind of clothes and take photos for her. I gave you a set before, the color was similar to this, but you looked at it with disdain and criticized my aesthetic style." This time, it was Lu Jingli who spoke. Even Lu Jingli came out and called her future sister-in-law. The 7 aunties couldn't hold it in any longer, and all of them were asking Lu Tingxiao which girl he had his eyes on. Lu Tingxiao directly replied with 2 words, "Private matter." What he meant was that this was my private matter, and no one was allowed to interfere. Therefore, those who were eager to find out what was going on didn't dare to act rashly. In the entire Lu family, Lu Tingxiao was the core helmsman, like the head of the dragon. The glory and honor of the Lu family all depended on him, and his words were undoubtedly the imperial edict. At this moment, there was another person who saw the photos and chat records in the group, Jiang Mui. Jiang Mui stared at the sentence, "Is it the girl you like?" for a long time and immediately sent a private message to Ning Shi. "Ning Xiaoxi, did you take photos of Lu Tingxiao and Xiaobao?" "Yeah, how did you know? Did you see us?" Ning Shi remembered that Jiang Mui didn't have a chance today either. Could it be that he sneaked here again? "H, my uncle is showing off in the family. Everyone is praising him." Ning Shi was happy when she saw that. She typed, "Ha ha ha, really? Are you praising me for being a good photographer?" Jiang Mui was so angry that he almost smashed his phone. "Can you focus on something else? Then what should I pay attention to? Let me tell you, just now, Jiang Mui wanted to say that Lu Tingxiao had just admitted in the group that the photos were taken by the girl he liked. But when he thought that she didn't believe him even though he had said it 3 times in a row, he suddenly felt that this evidence was not enough. It was very likely that he would be beaten again. So he decided to find evidence that she couldn't deny next time to convince her. "We have a scene tomorrow. Don't be late." Jiang Mui changed the topic. "When have I ever been late? If I'm not mistaken, it will be a kissing scene. If you dare to eat the garlic durian, you will be dead, understand?" Chapter 113. After dinner, Ning Shi went to see Lu Tingxiao after some hesitation. On the quiet balcony, Lu Tingxiao did not rush her. He just stood there silently, patiently waiting for her reply. Ning Shi took a deep breath, turned to the man beside her, and finally made up her mind. "Lu Tingxiao, I've thought about what you said. I promise you that I can stay for 3 more months, but I have to leave after that. Even if there was nothing between them, it would be too easy for an unmarried woman to live in someone else's house, which would cause unnecessary misunderstanding." "Thank you." Lu Tingxiao breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, there was a hidden glint in his eyes. "Do you have any scenes tomorrow?" Lu Tingxiao asked. Ning Shi sighed and nodded. "Yes." Lu Tingxiao saw her hesitation and asked with concern, "What's wrong? Is it difficult tomorrow?" Ning Shi rested her chin on the railing and said, "It's not difficult. It's just a kissing scene. But my partner is Jiang Mui, and I'm afraid that I'll dance. What if I can't control myself and hit him halfway? It's also possible that I'll laugh." Kissing scene. Lu Tingxiao narrowed his eyes. Although he had known that there would be such scenes in the film, he had been deliberately avoiding the question, because he was afraid that he would do something that would make her hate him. Suddenly, Ning Shi thought of something and patted her head. "Ah, Lu Tingxiao, I have something to thank you for." "What is it?" Lu Tingxiao asked absent-mindedly. "I just learned that the investor was second young Master Lu. You asked me to be the second female lead, didn't you? So, thank you." Ning Shi thanked him sincerely. "I'm glad you don't blame me. I'm not that ungrateful. Of course I should thank you. You're welcome. It's just a convenience." In fact, he did all this for her, and Jiang Mui was just a convenience. Ning Shi thought hard and said, "I also took advantage of you. It's not sincere to thank you. How about I cook for you and Xiaobao when I'm free? Although I'm too lazy to cook, I can cook well. If I hadn't entered the entertainment circle, I would have been a chef." Lu Tingxiao chuckled. "I'm looking forward to it." The next day, when Ning Shi arrived at the studio city, she saw a large group of young girls surrounding the shooting site from afar. In the middle of them was a particularly dazzling golden head. At first glance, she knew that it was Jiang Mui and his female fans. Ning Shi subconsciously wanted to take a detour, but just as she was about to slip away, there was a scream from the crowd. "Ah, it's Ning Shi." Ning Shi thought to herself that she was doomed. She was about to protect her face when the group of little girls suddenly lined up in front of her and bowed together, saying in unison, "Sorry." After apologizing, the little girls stared at her with starry eyes and started talking at the same time. "Miss Ning Shi, I'm sorry. We misunderstood you. Please don't lower yourself to our level. You must continue to act the role of Meng Chang'e." "That's right. Your acting was amazing, and we all loved your scenes with Mu Yi. I've been playing those dozens of seconds of footage at home for the whole day. Ningxi was confused by this group of girls and subconsciously looked at Jiang Mui. Chapter 114. Jiang Mui walked over in a good mood and explained, "Didn't director Guo release some highlights of the filming? One of them was the binding scene we did that day. Then, they turned from hater to fan. Really, are they so happy to see me being suppressed?" Ah, so that was it. Fans were infatuated with stars and rarely wanted to have any interaction with them in real life, because it was too unrealistic. Therefore, movies and TV series became the channel for fans to fantasize. If a female star wanted to act with your idol, your first reaction might be a little jealousy. Especially if the female star was in a bad situation, you might feel it was unfair to your idol and resist it. But on the contrary, the fans would take the role of the person acting with their idol and get great satisfaction from it. That was Ningxi's current situation. Mui, I heard that you have a lot of intimate scenes. Is it true? Will there be a kissing scene? A fan asked excitedly. Jiang Mui raised his eyebrows. Yes, there will be one today. Arth. There was a scream of excitement. Can we watch? Can we? The young girls asked. Today's scene will be outdoors. You should be able to see it from the outside, but you may not be able to see it clearly from a distance, Jiang Mui answered. It's okay. We all brought our equipment. The young girls took out the necessary binoculars for fans. Ningxi was speechless. With so many people watching, she was under a lot of pressure. In the lounge, Ningxi couldn't help but ask, "You said it's a kissing scene. Which one is it?" Because so many things had happened recently, the schedule had changed a lot. She only knew the general situation and hadn't received the specific information. Jiang Mui flipped through the script excitedly. "I asked the director about the Lantern Festival scene last night." Ningxi immediately recalled the plot. Lantern Festival? Isn't it the first kiss scene between Meng Chang'e and Sun Huanqing? Yes, that's the one. Jiang Mui raised his eyebrows and sniffed her warily. "Do you remember what I said yesterday? You didn't eat anything you shouldn't have, right?" Ningxi slapped him away. "Do I look like such an unprofessional person? You said it. If you trick me, I'll tell the director." Jiang Mui stared at her with distrust. He had been tricked by her too many times, so he didn't dare to let his guard down. Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. "How old are you? Don't tell the teacher. Aren't you childish?" Jiang Mui snorted and turned away. "I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I have to figure out how to shoot it." Ningxi turned his chair around. "What the hell are you talking about? I'll be the one kissing you forcefully anyway. Come here, I have something to ask you." Jiang Mui was speechless. Damn it, couldn't he study how to be kissed by force? "What do you want to know?" Jiang Mui asked impatiently. "How are you handling Zhou Qingqing's character?" "Of course. I heard from Ming Bro that it's going to be someone from Golden Era. I think it's a new singer. He's not bad looking, but he doesn't have any acting experience. I think he'll suck. By the way, have you heard about Zhou Qingqing?" "What about Zhou Qingqing?" Ningxi was puzzled. "What else?" She made such a big fuss that her legal wife found out. She called someone to strip her naked on the street and beat her up. She told her to get out of the capital, or they'll kill her the next time. "I was worried that she would do something to you. Now it seems that I don't have to worry anymore." As Jiang Mui spoke, he felt something was wrong. "Ningxi, why do I feel that things are developing surprisingly smoothly?" At this time, the director's voice came from outside. "Ningxi, Mui, go and put on your clothes. It's your turn next." Chapter 115. Night had just fallen, and the light was just right. The prop team had prepared everything and the extras were all in their positions. After changing, Jiang Mui was a little nervous. Speaking of which, although he had dated Ningxi before, he had never even touched her finger, let alone kissed her. He didn't expect that his first time would be in a movie, not when he was in love. Just as he was taking a deep breath to adjust his mood, a huge force suddenly slapped him from behind. Ningxi, who was wearing a smart outfit with a high ponytail, put her arm around his shoulder. What are you doing, Goldie? Are you nervous? Get lost. I'm not nervous. I've done more kissing scenes than you've ever eaten. Jiang Mui pushed her away grumpily. His shoulder, which she had laid on, was burning hot. At this time, Guo Chisheng walked over worriedly. We can't clear the scene. Are you two okay? Usually, in order to prevent the actors from being embarrassed, the scene would be cleared, leaving only the crew. Ningxi shrugged her shoulders casually. I'm okay. Senior Jiang said he has done more kissing scenes than I have eaten. Of course we don't need it. Guo Chisheng laughed. Then let's start. Then he comforted them. This is the most important kiss in the whole movie, so I have high expectations. But you two are just getting used to each other. It doesn't matter if you don't do well at the beginning. You can try a few more times. Hearing that, Jiang Mui's mouth twitched. He didn't feel comforted at all. Instead, his heart beat faster. Damn it. It's just a kissing scene. Why are you jumping so fast? No one noticed that there were several micro high-definition cameras the size of flies hovering over their heads, and a black car was parked at the intersection of the street less than 100 meters away from the scene. The screen in front of the back seat of the car was clearly projecting every frame of the scene. Lu Tingxiao was dressed in a dark suit, and his shirt was buttoned up to the first button. His slender fingers supported his forehead, and his dark pupils reflected the light from the screen. He was silently looking at the girl who appeared on the screen after she changed her clothes. Next to him, Lu Jingli poked his head out of the car to look outside, and then looked at the screen in the car. He looked conflicted. Brother, are you really going to just watch and do nothing? It's better to stay at home. Out of sight, out of mind. After saying that, he stared at his brother's perfect side profile in the dim light and muttered to himself, if he doesn't explode in silence, he will perish in silence. Why do I always have a bad feeling about this? After all, he had grown up with Lu Tingxiao, so he understood his character very well. This guy looked especially cold and arrogant on the surface, and especially had no desires or desires. In reality, as long as it was his territory, he would have an extremely terrifying desire to possess it. Ever since Ningxi appeared, Lu Tingxiao had been showing his bright and warm side, but Lu Jingli knew that as long as he wanted something, there was absolutely nothing he couldn't get. This was just the patience of a beast before it hunted. This kind of appearance was simply fragile, and it could explode at any time with a bang. He had been worried about Ningxi these days. After knowing that Jiang Mui had an affair with Ningxi, he was even more worried about him. Alas, for the sake of his nephew, he would find a chance to remind him. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how he died. Chapter 116. The filming began. There were vendors selling lanterns and guessing riddles on both sides of the street. The bustling people were holding lanterns in their hands and laughing. Meng Chang'e forcefully dragged Sun Huanqing out of the medical center. The camera moved along with the two of them. Under the lens, the young man and girl ran quickly along the brightly lit streets of Chang'an. The scene was extremely beautiful. There weren't many lines in this scene. It was mainly about the scene and the changes in the eyes of the protagonist. Meng Chang'e was in high spirits. Sun Huanqing was reluctant at first, but was later infected by the girl's enthusiasm. The two of them shuttled through the crowd together. After walking for a while, Sun Huanqing suddenly realized that his hand was still held by the girl, so he struggled. Meng Chang'e, on the other hand, stubbornly clenched it and refused to let go, with an expression that said that this hand belonged to him. Sun Huanqing was anxious. Miss Meng, please behave yourself. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. Meng Chang'e frowned and stared at him. You bookworm, what if I let go of your hand and we get separated? So be it. Sun Huanqing was extremely embarrassed and said without thinking. Sun Huanqing, you. Meng Chang'e was so angry that he threw his hand away and went into the crowd. Sun Huanqing's expression gradually became anxious as she watched the red figure gradually disappear into the crowd. Recently, there had been rumors of a rapist appearing in the capital. Several girls had already gone missing. Today, the streets were so chaotic. What if something happened to a girl like her? At this moment, Sun Huanqing was only worried about Meng Chang'e. He had completely forgotten that she was a little devil. Even if they met a rapist, it would be their bad luck. The camera began to follow Sun Huanqing in the crowd, looking for Meng Chang'e. Just when Meng Chang'e was about to break down, he suddenly felt someone on the back of his shoulder. As soon as he turned around, he saw a person wearing a ghost mask standing in front of him. She said with a somewhat proud tone, "Dr. Sun, you were looking for me." Hearing the girl's familiar voice, Sun Huanqing was ecstatic to find her again. He immediately pulled her into his arms. Meng Chang'e obviously didn't expect Sun Huanqing, who had always been conservative, to do such a thing. He suddenly froze. The next scene was the scene where Meng Chang'e took the initiative to kiss Sun Huanqing. The fans watching from afar were so excited that they held their breath and didn't dare to make a sound. This scene was the first kiss between the two of them. Just by imagining it, one could tell that it was absolutely beautiful. At the same time, there was another person who didn't even dare to breathe loudly. It was Lu Jingli, who was in the black car. Lu Jingli curled up against the window, trying to stay as far away from his brother as possible. He was so scared that he closed his eyes, not daring to look. He absolutely didn't believe that his brother would do nothing and do nothing. Just seeing Ningxi holding Jiang Mui's hand and hugging him, the temperature in the carriage almost froze. What would happen if they really kissed? There won't be any bloody scenes later, right? No matter how hard Lu Jingli thought, he couldn't figure out what his brother would do to stop the show without offending Ningxi. Lu Jingli carefully looked at the screen again through his fingers. Ningxi slowly took off her mask and gazed at Jiang Mui affectionately. Then she stretched out her hand and pulled down Jiang Mui's neck. Finished, finished, finish. Someone's going to die. Lu Jingli was wailing in his heart when he suddenly saw the lanterns around him extinguish one by one. The effect was as if they were extinguished by his own brother's burning evil energy. It was incomparably frightening. Chapter 117. Ah! It's raining! An exclamation came from the crowd. The lanterns were made of paper, and some lotus lanterns didn't even have a cover, so they were instantly extinguished by the rain. Ningxi, who was about to kiss Jiang Mui, stopped because of this sudden change. She subconsciously covered her head with her hands. Why is it raining? Ouch, it hurts. Why is it hailing? Jiang Mui was so nervous that his heart almost stopped beating. He braked abruptly and almost fainted. Damn it! Isn't there a drought recently? It hasn't rained for months. And why is it hailing on such a hot day? Lu Jingli, who was in the car, was confused. It's raining. Why is it raining all of a sudden? Wait. Listen to the banging sound on the roof. There seems to be big hailstones in it. At this time, an idea flashed in Lu Jingli's mind. He stared at his brother, who was as still as a mountain and didn't look surprised at all. Lu Jingli was speechless. You even used artificial rain. Brother, you're going against the natural order. And, did you use too much force? It's hailing. Seeing that the filming had to be stopped, Lu Tingxiao's low pressure receded like a tide. His thin lips spat out two cold words, drive. Yes, young master. The driver started the engine and the black car quietly left the set in the night. Guo Qisheng didn't expect such a situation. He wrung his hands on the spot. If the shooting had continued, it would have been a perfect scene. Alas, forget it. Good things are strewn with setbacks. Let's call it a day. But don't leave yet. Let's have a dinner party tonight. We must make up for the fact that we didn't have a dinner party for Muyi last time, Guo Qisheng said to the crowd. Recently, there had been many ups and downs in the crew. It was a good time to have a dinner party. The crew, who had been depressed because of the sudden change of weather, suddenly cheered up. Jiang Mui responded with a lack of interest. Obviously, he was in a bad mood. Ningxi threw a towel to him. What's with your expression? Are you disappointed that I didn't force a kiss on you? Bullshit. That's because I'm not satisfied. I want to play with you again. Jiang Mui glared at her and then warned, you won't have anything to do tonight, will you? No. What can happen to me? Ningxi said as she sent a message to Lu Tingxiao as usual. Jiang Mui secretly glanced at her phone to see what she was sending. Then he found something was wrong. Ning Xiaoxi, why did you change your WeChat ID? The original lonely shushu arrow falling was changed to Tang Xiaoxi. Well, because of Lu Tingxiao, Ning, she answered. Jiang Mui's pupils constricted. Lu Tingxiao asked you to change it. He asked you to change it, so you changed it. You've been using this nickname for so many years, and no matter how much I criticized you back then, you were too lazy to change it. You actually changed it the moment he asked you to? Ning, she rolled her eyes at him. Can you calm down? Didn't he tell me to change it? Then why did you change it? It's because he didn't let me change it. He even said that my nickname was pretty good and wanted me to think of a similar one for him. Jiang Mui. Fuck. His uncle was too cruel when it came to his sister. How could he do that? Ning, she sighed. It's okay for a rough man like me to use this nickname. But he is the president of a listed company. If I influenced him to use the Martian language, wouldn't I be a sinner? So I tried to persuade him that the Martian language was outdated. In order to prove it, I even changed my own name. Chapter 118. Ning, she was too lazy to type, so she sent a voice message directly. Mr. Lu, the crew is having dinner tonight. Please tell Xiaobao not to wait for me. Very quickly, Lu Tingxiao replied with a buzzing sound. It was also a message. Ning, she clicked it. Lu Tingxiao's unique cold and concerned voice came from the phone. Okay, have fun. Ning Xiaoxi. Jiang Mui called her name gloomily. What? Not only are you blind, are you deaf as well? Don't you think my uncle's tone is wrong when he talks to you? Jiang Mui, are you itching for a beating again? Jiang Mui didn't say anything. Haha, Ning Xiaoxi, just you wait. I'll find the evidence tonight at the latest and convince you. Convinced with heart and mouth. In the Pearl Hotel. Almost all the members of the crew were present for the dinner. Ning Xueluo and the others who didn't have any scenes today also came. They all welcomed Jiang Mui and the atmosphere in the room was very warm. After 3 rounds of drinking, A suddenly stood up with a glass of wine in her hand. Ning Shi, I misunderstood you before. Here's to you as an apology and also to thank you. Sister A, you're too polite. Ning Shi drank up the wine in her glass. Everyone cheered and then many people came to toast Ning Shi. Ning Shi didn't refuse any of them. It could be said that she wanted to solve the problem with wine. Seeing Ning Shi getting along well with the crew, Ning Shi smiled with relief. I told you that my junior sister couldn't be that kind of person. When the dinner was coming to an end, a slender figure suddenly knocked on the door and walked in. Oh, Child Su. Child Su is here. Brother Yang, why are you here? Seeing the man, Ning Xueluo immediately greeted him with surprise. In the corner, the drunk Jiang Mui immediately sobered up and stared at the elegant man in a beige suit at the door. Su Yang. He was Su Yang. The only man Ning Shi had ever loved. Su Yang, the 10 best boyfriend, always appeared when Ning Xueluo needed help. At this time, Ning Xueluo was holding his arm and he greeted everyone with a gentle face. I'm having dinner here with my friends. I heard from Xueluo that you guys are here too. Feel free to order whatever you want to eat. Put it on my tab. The crowd jeered. Wow. Young Master Su is too rich. I feel that we are all blessed by Teacher Ning every time. Then we won't hold back. At this moment, a cold snort came from the corner. Why should I let you pay for my welcoming banquet? This meal is on me. As soon as Su Yang appeared, Jiang Mui didn't even try to hide his hostility. Perhaps it was because his ex-boyfriend was extremely jealous of him. Su Yang immediately sensed Jiang Mui's unfriendly attitude towards him, but he still put on a warm smile and said unhurriedly, since it's a welcome banquet for Mr. Jiang, you shouldn't pay for it yourself. That's right. Let us treat you. We'll do our best to be the host, Ning Xueluo echoed. Be the host, my ass. I was born and raised in the capital, okay? We need you to be the host. Jiang Mui was about to lose his temper when Ning Shi secretly pressed his shoulder from behind and whispered in his ear, Are you stupid? Why don't you use this sucker? Let him pay. Jiang Mui's face darkened. Humph, Are you sure you're not speaking for him? This is your old lover. Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Aren't you my old lover too? Chapter 119. Ning Xiaoxi, don't change the subject. Jiang Mui's heart ached even more. He thought to himself, what kind of old lover am I? How can I compare with your childhood sweetheart, Brother Yang, who even calls out his name in your dreams? Ningxi said helplessly, okay, I won't change the subject. Do you want to expose my relationship with you and Su Yang in front of everyone? When could this guy be more mature? Jiang Mui finally stopped talking. If you want to pay, then pay. Jiang Mui said perfunctorily. Su Yang frowned slightly when he saw Ningxi whispering in Jiang Mui's ear. Was it an illusion? He had a feeling that the relationship between Ningxi and Jiang Mui was not just limited to colleagues. Seeing Su Yang looking at Ningxi absent-mindedly, Ning Xueluo shook his arm to call his attention. She said in a sweet voice, Brother Yang, did you bring the things I asked you to bring for me? Su Yang came back to his senses. Yes. Then he handed her a stack of invitation cards and said to everyone, tomorrow is Xueluo's birthday. I hope everyone can come to the birthday party tomorrow night. Ah. Tomorrow is Teacher Ning's birthday. Then we must go. Teacher Ning's birthday party must be very grand. Let's all go and broaden our horizons. Ning Xueluo smiled sweetly and handed out the invitation cards to everyone. When it was Ningxi's turn, she did not forget to remind her, little junior sister, you must come. Ningxi twirled the wine glass and stared at the red invitation with no expression on her face. When she handed it to Jiang Mui, he did not even move. Don't give it to me. I won't go. Ning Xueluo's face stiffened slightly, but she recovered her gentleness in an instant. She asked with concern, Mui, do you have anything to do tomorrow? Can we postpone the date? I really hope you can come. Please, please. She had already promised several of Jiang Mui's close friends that she would definitely invite Jiang Mui to the party. No man would be able to refuse such a beautiful woman's request in such a tone. However, Jiang Mui didn't buy it at all. A trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. He said impatiently, I can't change it. Tomorrow is also my friend's birthday. With that, he glanced in Ningxi's direction. Ningxi took a sip of wine and did not speak. Ah, what a coincidence. Your friend has the same birthday as me. It must be a very important friend of yours, right? What a pity. If you're done with your friend, you're welcome to come anytime. Our party will last through the night, Ning Xueluo said with an understanding look. Damn it. If she couldn't invite Jiang Mui, wouldn't she lose face in front of so many sisters? Who was Jiang Mui's friend? Not only did she have the same birthday as her, but she was also so important that Jiang Mui declined her invitation in front of so many people. Wait, it's my birthday tomorrow too. Ning Xueluo looked in Ningxi's direction in shock. She suddenly remembered that Ningxi's birthday was the same day as hers, which was also tomorrow. Could the friend that Jiang Mui mentioned be Ningxi? At this time, she suddenly thought of something. Later, Wang Taihe announced that the investor was Lu Jingli, and her father told her that Lu Jingli had secretly appointed Ningxi as the second female lead. Why would Lu Jingli appoint Ningxi as the second female lead? If her guess was right, and Ningxi and Jiang Mui were really close, then Jiang Mui must have helped Ningxi. If that was the case, then everything would make sense. Did Ningxi hook up with Jiang Mui? Chapter 120. After Su Yang left, Jiang Mui squinted at Ningxi and snorted. Is that the real love you loved so much at that time? There must be something wrong with your eyesight. Ningxi glanced at him slowly. I think there's something wrong with your eyesight. A man like Su Yang deserves at least 9 out of 10, okay? Su Yang exploded when he heard that. Fuck, why is it 9 points? How can he get so many points? Ningxi said matter-of-factly, because he is the man I loved. Isn't it a slap in my face to say he is not good enough? Putting aside the subjective factors, from an objective point of view, it is undeniable that he deserves 9 points. Su Yang's appearance isn't like yours, where you can dazzle and blind people with just a glance, but he wins in terms of temperament. He's the gentle and refined type. In a fairy tale world, he'd be a prince, or in ancient times, an elegant young master. He's like a jade young master, unparalleled in this world. In short, he's the type I liked the most when I was young, the type that I fell for with just a glance. The fire in Jiang Mui's chest burned hotter and hotter. Damn, Ning Xiaoxi, do you still have feelings for him? You are praising him to the heavens. Ning, she rolled her eyes at him. I really don't care about him, so I can talk to you in such a calm and objective tone, okay? What's wrong with your IQ? What was more, she was just describing the most vivid and beautiful boy in her memory, not the current Su Yang. Sometimes, it was because the memories were too beautiful that the reality was crueler. It took Jiang Mui a long time to calm down. He asked in a low, muffled voice, "Then how many points do you give me?" Ning, she stroked her chin and answered under Jiang Mui's nervous gaze, 9:09 p.m. Your face alone is worth so many points. Hearing this, Jiang Mui immediately calmed down. He touched his face and said proudly, "Of course. I make a living with my face, okay? But where is the other 0.1 points?" Ning, she looked at him as if he was an idiot. "Do you still need to ask?" "Obviously, it's my IQ, Jiang Mui, forget it, for the sake of the high score of 9. I won't argue with this damned girl." Jiang Mui's eyes flickered and he couldn't help but ask, "Then, what about Lu Tingxiao? What score do you give me? In your heart, what kind of man is he?" "Well, Lu Tingxiao." Ning, she found it hard to answer this question. She thought about it for a long time before she answered, "I don't dare to rate the Demon King. If I had to describe his type, I would say that he's the type that you can only watch from afar but not play with. The surface of the sea looked calm, but you never knew what kind of terrifying undercurrents were lurking in the depths of the sea. This kind of man is unfathomable. If you get too close, you might end up buried at the bottom of the sea." Hearing this, Jiang Mui's face softened a lot. "Humph, at least you still have some sense left." "But..." Ning, she muttered to herself. "But what?" Jiang Mui asked nervously. Ning, she propped her chin on her hand and smiled, "But to die under a peony flower, it's still romantic to be a ghost." "Fuck. Ning Xiaoxi. Ha ha ha, I'm just kidding. Don't be so agitated." Jiang Mui almost died of anger. "I think you're telling the truth after drinking too much. I suspected that you had some ulterior motives towards Lu Tingxiao from the very beginning. Do you want to sleep with him?" Chapter 121. Is there any woman in the country who doesn't want to sleep with Lu Tingxiao? Ning, she asked. "All the women in the country want to sleep with me. Why don't you think so?" Jiang Mui blurted out. Ning, she raised her voice and questioned, "How do you know I haven't thought about it?" Jiang Mui was stunned for a moment, and then his ears turned red. The next second, Ning, she burst into laughter. Jiang Mui realized that he had been fooled and flew into a rage. "Ning, she, just wait and see. I'm not done with you." If it weren't for the fact that there were other people in the room, he would have beaten her to death. Ning, she saw that she had finally pissed him off and hurriedly waved her hands to escape. Alas, she had drunk too much tonight. She liked to flirt with people when she was drunk, especially Jiang Mui. After finishing her physiological needs, Ning, she staggered back. The hotel corridor was a little twisted, and she finally found a private room after a long time. However, when she pushed the door open, she was dumbfounded. The room was full of strangers, and this room was obviously much bigger and more luxurious than the one where the crew was. It could even be described as magnificent. "Sorry, I went the wrong way." Ning, she apologized and was about to leave. Suddenly, a fat hand covered her wrist, and then a mouth with a strong smell of alcohol almost came close to her face. "Oh, where did this lost lamb come from? Since you're here, it's fate. Why don't you stay and have a drink with me?" The man who was grabbing her hand was about 40 or 50 years old. His body was fat, and his cheeks were red. His lustful eyes looked at her from head to toe, as if she was naked. Finally, his eyes stopped at her chest area. There was a burst of laughter in the room. Ning, she subconsciously wanted to throw him over her shoulder, but she inadvertently glanced around and found that many of the people in this room were familiar faces who often appeared in financial magazines. She took a closer look and realized that half of the top 10 richest people in the capital were in this room. This probability was simply as frightening as a young eunuch accidentally entering the throne room where morning court was being held. Anyway, she couldn't afford to offend anyone in this room, so she immediately gave up the idea of violence. It seemed that it would not be easy to escape tonight. She had drunk too much and her head was still dizzy. Come, beauty, come in. The fat man kept pulling her into the room, and at the same time, did not forget to take advantage of her body. She struggled to get rid of the fat man's hand and said politely, "Sorry, sir, I really entered the wrong box. My friend is still waiting for me." Hearing this, the fat man immediately flew into a rage. "Stinking whore. You obviously walked in the wrong direction on purpose. Why are you pretending to be pure? I like you because your ancestors are lucky." She secretly cursed. How could the top 10 of the rich list be like this? She recognized that the fat man seemed to be Zhu Xiangqing, the chairman of Fengrui Real Estate, who was ranked 10th at the bottom. He was particularly lecherous. The fat man said and reached out to pull her again. He was about to drag her to the sofa. She was racking her brains to find a way to get away. At this moment, she suddenly felt something on her shoulder. A very familiar cool air from the glacier wrapped her up tightly from behind. She was so cold that she couldn't see through it. Then the strength on her shoulder gently but forcefully pulled her back. The next second, she bumped into a hard and warm embrace. Chapter 122. Boss. Boss Lu. Zhu Xiangqing, who had been pestering Ningxi a moment ago, froze, but soon put on a fawning expression. "Boss Lu, you like this girl too? Since that's the case, you first." In the private room, the looks of the onlookers all changed. What was going on? Lu Tingxiao was always as cold as a flower on a high mountain when he came out to socialize, and women were nothing to him. How could he be interested in a drunk woman who had accidentally barged in? Ignoring their reactions, Lu Tingxiao only had eyes for one person. He frowned at the swaying girl in his arms. "What's going on? Lu." She stopped herself from calling his name and stammered, "I came to the wrong place." The private room was a little dim, so she hadn't noticed Lu Tingxiao was here. Among the beer bellies, Lu Tingxiao's presence was like a cool breeze. "Which private room are you in? I'll take you there." Lu Tingxiao didn't even look at the people behind him and walked out with Ningxi in his arms. He had been resting with his eyes closed. He had vaguely heard the laughter in the private room, but he hadn't paid attention until he heard Ningxi's familiar voice. He opened his eyes and saw Zhu Xiangqing holding her hand and groping her. At that moment, he had the urge to break that man's hand. But he couldn't scare his girl, so he suppressed his cold anger and pretended to be a stranger to help her out. After leaving the private room, Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Lu Tingxiao, thank you. If I hadn't met you, I would have gotten into trouble tonight." If she couldn't talk to him nicely, she would have hit him. "So what if you got into trouble? I'll take care of it for you. If you encounter such a situation again, don't let yourself be taken advantage of." Lu Tingxiao lectured her seriously. Ningxi sighed with a smile. It feels so good to have someone to back you up. When she left the Lu family, when Little Bun no longer needed her, she and Lu Tingxiao would probably become strangers, right? She didn't know why, but she felt a little sad at the thought of this. Lu Tingxiao touched the girl's head. "I can support you for the rest of my life, as long as you want." She shook off the thoughts in her mind. "I'm fine now. I can go back by myself." "Are you sure you can do it?" Lu Tingxiao asked worriedly. Of course. "Hurry up and go in." She waved her hand and walked backward. Lu Tingxiao knew in advance that the crew would come here for dinner tonight, so he accepted those people's boring party invitation. Of course, he also knew which private room Ningxi was in. So after seeing Ningxi walking in the opposite direction, Lu Tingxiao sighed helplessly and strode forward to catch up. "Forget it, I'll send you back." "Which is your private room?" "Oh, it's 801. 801 isn't in this direction." Lu Tingxiao helped her walk in the right direction. Lu Tingxiao didn't stop until he sent her to the door. Go in. Don't run around. If you need to go to the bathroom, make sure to find a friend to accompany you. If you can't find him, Jiang Mui will do. Fut, asking Jiang Mui to accompany her to the toilet. Got it. Thank you, Boss Lu, for sending me back in person. She made a heart gesture. Lu Tingxiao smiled and the last trace of hostility between his eyebrows disappeared. Send me a message when you leave, and we'll go back together. Chapter 123. When she came back, Jiang Mui was relieved. Why are you gone for so long? I thought you fell into the toilet. It's worse than falling into the toilet. I fell into a wolf's den. She leaned back on the sofa with a lingering fear. What do you mean? Jiang Mui frowned. I went to the wrong room. You don't know. The room was full of big shots from the capital and a wretched fatty who wouldn't let me go and asked me to drink with him. What did you say? Jiang Mui's face changed immediately. He looked her up and down nervously. Then how did you come back? She snorted. Because I was lucky enough to meet a big shot among the big shot. Jiang Mui's face darkened. Could it be Lu Tingxiao? She snapped her fingers. Bingo. That's right. Boss Lu is so handsome. He saved me in time and escorted me to the door of the room. Jiang Mui. What happened to high IQ but low EQ? Was this man who was so good at picking up girls really the one he knew? After the party, they said goodbye to each other. Ningxi, how are you going back? Do you need a ride? Yi Linglong asked. Thank you, Sister Yi, but it's okay. I have a friend nearby who will take me back. Then I'll go first. Okay. Be careful. What about Mu Yi? Where are you going? Guo Chisheng asked. I'm waiting for my agent. Okay, see you tomorrow. If the weather is good, we can continue today's shooting. It's raining and hailing today. It's so strange. Guo Chisheng murmured gloomily. After the crew left, only Jiang Mui and Ningxi were left at the door. Ningxi was sleepy and drunk. She was leaning against the golden pillar behind her with her eyes closed like a dead dog. Jiang Mui squinted at her. Brother Ming will be here soon. Why are you waiting for your friend? Go back with me. Wait, you're not waiting for. Before she finished speaking, a man in a suit and leather shoes came out of the hotel lobby. His steady footsteps were in the moonlight, and he walked step by step to Ningxi who was napping. His voice was like the summer night wind. Ningxi. Ningxi opened her eyes drowsily. Lu Tingxiao. The man in front of her seemed to be synonymous with security. As soon as his figure appeared in her line of sight, she finally let go of her last bit of consciousness. Her body went limp and fell straight to the side. Jiang Mui, who was standing at the side, was shocked. He was about to reach out to help her, but someone was faster than him. The girl fell into his arms. Lu Tingxiao gently combed the girl's messy hair on her temples. Then, he stretched an arm to her knees and gently picked her up. At the same time, a black Maybach silently stopped at the entrance, and the driver quickly got out of the car and opened the door. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was about to get into the car with Ningxi in his arms as if he didn't exist, Jiang Mui couldn't help it anymore. He quickly turned on the recording function of his mobile phone and shouted from behind, "Uncle." Lu Tingxiao paused, slightly turned sideways, and asked him what was the matter with his eyes. Jiang Mui gritted his teeth. What was the matter? Did he have to ask? Did he have to take it for granted? What on earth do you mean by Ningxi? Jiang Mui stared at him and asked directly. Lu Tingxiao looked down at the girl sleeping soundly in his arms. I love Ningxi. Yes. Don't you think your attitude towards Ningxi is too strange and ambiguous? Under the strong pressure of the man, Jiang Mui forced himself to continue speaking. At the same time, he clenched the phone in his hand, nervously waiting for the man's reply. Lu Tingxiao looked at the young man opposite him coldly. I think I've made it clear enough. Since you still don't understand, the next second, Jiang Mui's pupils suddenly shrank. The man in the dark didn't speak directly. Instead, he lowered his head and gently covered the girl's lips. 3 seconds later, the man left with a cherishing expression, and then stared coldly at the young man who was dumbfounded. Do you understand? Chapter 124. Late at night. Platinum Palace number 6. A golden retriever was rolling on the bed like a top. Fuck, 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 fuck. Lei Ming sat on the sofa opposite him and yawned helplessly. You fucked me 258 times. What the hell happened tonight? Jiang Mui glared at him fiercely and even his little canine teeth flashed coldly. Don't mention the number 250 to me. I'm a fucking idiot. Ning Xiaoxi didn't wrong me when she said that the last 0.1 points were deducted from my IQ. Fuck, fuck. I'm hopelessly stupid. What's the use of recording? Why didn't I secretly make a video call? Why? The corner of Lei Ming's mouth twitched. He didn't understand what Jiang Mui was talking about. But he knew that every time he acted like this, it had something to do with Ningxi. Mui, do you want to get back together with Ningxi? Jiang Mui froze like a stone and snorted fiercely. Am I crazy? I want to get back together with that bastard. Because of that incident, I still have nightmares at night. Lei Ming was speechless as he looked at Jiang Mui's resentful face. He liked Ningxi, but he was so stubborn. In fact, he had always suspected that Jiang Mui had fallen in love with Ningxi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so angry when he found out the truth. As for his current feelings for Ningxi, was it love born from hatred? But it might also be because what you can't have is always the best. While Jiang Mui was rolling on the bed, the phone on the bedside rang. Jiang Mui was in no mood to answer it. Finally, Lei Ming picked up his cell phone and looked at it. It's your father. My father. Jiang Mui sat up immediately. His father was like an enemy to him because he entered the entertainment circle. Why would his father call him now? Jiang Mui felt a little uneasy and picked up the phone immediately. Because they hadn't talked for a long time and he had a grudge against his father, Jiang Mui didn't call him father. He said coldly, Chairman Jiang, why are you calling me so late at night? A helpless sigh came from the other end of the phone. The man said in a tired voice, Mui, come back. The company is going to collapse. Jiang Mui's expression changed immediately. What do you mean the company is about to collapse? What happened? There's a mole in the company, and there's a problem with our cooperation with HN. Right now, I can't trust anyone. The only person I can rely on is you. Don't tell me you really have the heart to see the foundation that Dad has built for most of his life be destroyed in a day? Jiang Tingguang's tone was almost begging. Jiang Mui tightened his grip on the phone. I will never quit the entertainment circle. I also said that I won't go back to take over your company. Muyi, I'm not asking you to leave the entertainment industry. It's up to you whether you want to take over the company or not. I just hope that you can spare some time to come back and help me. Jiang Mui was a man who could be persuaded by reason but not cowed by force. It was the first time that his father, who was as dictatorial as Tyrannosaurus Rex, spoke to him in such a humble tone. Therefore, he did not refuse immediately but said ambiguously, but I'm very busy these days. Let me think about it. After Jiang Mui hung up the phone, Lei Ming immediately asked with concern, did something happen to your father's company? Family matters are more important. As for work, I can help you coordinate. Chapter 125. Jiang Mui had a headache. But what about my scenes? Do I have to postpone them? Lei Ming pondered for a moment and then analyzed, you don't have to postpone them. Under the Heavens is a period drama, and there are many big scenes, so the filming period is relatively long. I can tell the director to move all your scenes to the end, and we can take responsibility for any losses that may occur during this period. Guo Qisheng should agree. Jiang Mui scratched his head impatiently. It seems that we can only do this. Damn it, why is everything going wrong these days? HN's cooperation deal was already set in stone, yet something went wrong. It was just a kiss scene, and it was even hail in the middle of summer. The more Jiang Mui said, the more he felt that something was wrong. Finally, He patted the mattress. Damn it. Lu Tingxiao. You are so shameless. In the Lu mansion. Seeing Papa bring back the drunk Aunt Xiaoxi, Xiao Bao blamed and complained. Lu Tingxiao put Ningxi on the bed. Seeing his son's eyes, he raised his eyebrows and explained, I didn't ask her to drink. Xiao Bao still had a look of blame and accusation on his face. Lu Tingxiao said helplessly, well, it's my fault. I didn't take good care of her. Seeing Papa's sincere attitude, Xiao Bao finally withdrew his dissatisfied gaze and then ran to the bathroom. After a while, he took out a hot towel, took off his shoes, and climbed onto the bed. He carefully knelt beside Ningxi and wiped her face. After wiping her face and hands, he was very careful and serious. Seeing his son acting like a filial son, Lu Tingxiao was both relieved and sighed. As his father, he had never been treated like this. Oh, I have a headache. Hearing Ningxi groaning, Xiao Bao felt distressed and hurriedly leaned over to Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao's eyes flickered. He looked at his son and said, it's your Aunt Xiaoxi's job. Even I can't interfere. But you can try to persuade her to drink less in the future. She'll listen to you. His words were pleasing to Xiao Bao's ears. He nodded seriously, indicating that he would take this important task. The next morning. As soon as Ningxi woke up, she saw Xiao Bao lying on the edge of her bed with a serious face. He looked very unhappy. Ningxi hurriedly sat up. Well, baby, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's with that expression? Just like your father. As she spoke, she pinched his little face in amusement. Little Bun quickly took out a writing board from behind him and started flipping through the pages. Ningxi saw that teacher Little Steamed Bun had drawn quite a few lively comic strips with pictures and text. From the heart, blood, bones, stomach, pancreas, liver, and other aspects, she described the dangers of drinking alcohol to the body. After flipping through it, Little Bun continued to look at her with a serious expression. His meaning was clear. Ningxi coughed lightly. Ahem, that, baby, actually alcohol is not as terrible as you think. It can lower harmful cholesterol, improve self-confidence, stimulate brain intelligence, and control weight. Ningxi randomly counted with her fingers. Although she knew that Little Bun was concerned about her, she couldn't just casually promise a child something. How could she not drink in her line of work? When Little Bun heard this, his pitch-black eyes were filled with anger and disappointment. He immediately turned his head and quickly ran out. Hey, don't go. Ningxi scratched her head awkwardly. Chapter 126. After a while, Ningxi washed up and went downstairs. She greeted Little Bun as usual. Hi, good morning, baby. However, Little Bun didn't pay any attention to her. Instead, he proudly turned his face to the other side. Ningxi, at the dining table, Lu Tingxiao, who was reading the newspaper, raised his eyebrows in surprise and cast a puzzled look at Ningxi. Did you quarrel? That was rare. Ningxi touched her nose. Xiao Bao just persuaded me to quit drinking. I told him that drinking actually has a lot of benefits, and then he got angry, so that was it. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Ningxi rolled her eyes and immediately sought for an ally. Lu Tingxiao, tell Xiao Bao, isn't drinking good for him? She thought that Lu Tingxiao would definitely be on her side if he drank too much. Lu Tingxiao looked at Ningxi on the right who looked expectant, and then at his son on the left who looked angry. He coughed with his fist against his lips. Drinking is indeed good. Ningxi immediately patted her thigh excitedly. Bun, see, I was right. Little Bun immediately cast a contemptuous look at his father. It was him who proposed it last night, but now he changed his mind because of Aunt Xiaoxi's request. He was so unprincipled. Seeing his son's expression as if looking at a traitor, Lu Tingxiao chuckled and continued to say, but the disadvantages of drinking far outweigh the advantages, and the advantage is on the basis of moderation. So, unless it's very difficult to avoid, you'd better drink less. Then he added, I've started to quit drinking recently. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningxi immediately laid on the table listlessly with a defeated expression, Mr. Boss, where's the alliance we agreed on? After a while, she finally accepted the fact that Little Bun and Little Bun were allies. She raised her hands in surrender and said, okay, I got it. I'll drink as little as possible in the future. I won't compete with others in drinking, and I won't drink uncontrollably. Can you forgive me now, baby? Xiao Bao carefully looked at her expression. After confirming her sincerity, he finally nodded. Moreover, he stretched out his chubby little hand, which had grown a lot of flesh these days, and imitated the way she usually encouraged and praised him. He gently stroked her head, as if to say that this was a good child. Ningxi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In addition, her heart was filled with the warmth of being cared for and cared for. She picked up the little bun and gave it a kiss. Baby, you're so cute even when you're angry. I'll love you a little more every day. What should I do? Little Treasure's eyes were sparkling. He was very happy. Lu Tingxiao, who was tortured every day, was speechless. His son only needed to act cute to get what he wanted, but he had to go through 81 difficulties. Fengrui real estate chairman's office. The muscles on Zhu Xiangqing's face twitched. He leaned on the table and stood up. That's impossible. We have always done this in the past, and we have never seen Lu Enterprises make a fuss about it. Why did it have to be this time? The manager was also anxious. Maybe it's because Lu Enterprises' internal policy has changed recently, and they are stricter about quality control. This kind of thing depends on what Lu Enterprises says. If they turn a blind eye, we'll go. If they take it seriously, it's because of our quality problem. We've breached the contract. Zhu Xiangqing walked back and forth. What should we do now? It's said that this time Lu Tingxiao personally gave the order to reject it. I'm afraid we can only start from him. The manager pondered. Zhu Xiangqing became even more irritable. Lu Tingxiao is a man who can't be persuaded by force or persuasion. Neither money nor women will work on him. Starting from him is tantamount to a dead end. No, wait. Women, maybe someone can. Chapter 127. When she arrived at the set, Ningxi was told that the shooting plan had been changed because of Jiang Mui's family. That fellow would usually nag at her side for a long time even if it was just a small matter. This time, why didn't he tell her at all when such a big thing happened? Ningxi immediately made a phone call to ask. Jiang Mui's tone sounded very bad. Why should I tell you? Don't you think I'm a busybody? Don't you want me to get away from you as far as possible? That's what you want. Ningxi was also angry. Jiang Mui, what's wrong with you? Jiang Mui was very angry at himself for being so stupid. Finally, he forced himself to calm down and said, I'm in my dad's company and I'm as busy as a dog today. I can't get away. Log into the game tonight and I'll give you a gift. Happy birthday. And I've sent a few things to your mailbox. You can have a look yourself. Believe it or not. That's it. I'm hanging up. This guy. Ningxi helplessly looked at her cell phone. At this time, Guo Qixing ran over to inform her. Ningxi, you know what happened to Mui, right? We were supposed to continue shooting the kissing scene yesterday, but now it's changed to the scene between you and Xueluo. I'll send you the new schedule later. Ningxi nodded. Got it, director. Then she found a remote corner and nestled in the shade of a tree to read the script. While she was absorbed in the script, she heard footsteps. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of a figure that she hated. It was Su Yang. Su Yang had sent Ning Xueluo here today. Because it was her birthday, Su Yang had taken a day off and accompanied her on the set all day. The girls on the set were going crazy with jealousy. Ningxi didn't want to talk to him. She just raised her eyelids slightly, indicating that he had something to say. Su Yang handed her a bottle of iced drink and asked cautiously, Xiaoxi, will you come to Xueluo's birthday? Ningxi didn't take it. She looked at him as if he were an idiot. Are you sure you want to ask me such a stupid question? Xiaoxi, today is also your birthday. If you can come back, we can celebrate it together. I've already talked to uncle and auntie, and they've already agreed. Ningxi rolled her eyes. Thank you so much for helping me celebrate my birthday. Su Yang frowned and gave a long sigh. Ningxi, I really don't know you anymore. When will you become the kind and considerate 1111 you used to be? Everything that happened at that time was my fault. If it weren't for me, Xue Luo wouldn't have done that. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Xue Luo is innocent. She's been living with guilt all these years, and she wants nothing more than to get your blessing. I really hope you can come. Guilt. Every time she talked to Su Yang, she felt like she was listening to a joke. The man who took my identity, stole my parents, and slept with me because of guilt. She would feel really guilty if that were to happen. Also, don't mention the word kindness to me. That wasn't kindness back then, it was idiocy. Su Yang's face darkened, but then he said firmly, Xiaoxi, as long as you're willing to forgive Xue Luo, I'll do anything you want me to do except to testify in court. Are you sure? She raised her eyebrows. I'm sure. Su Yang nodded. Chapter 128. She put down the script in her hand and looked at him calmly. Okay, I want you to dump Xueluo at the birthday party tonight. Compared to the humiliation I suffered in the past, I'm kind and considerate enough to let her dump me. Su Yang's face turned pale. Xiaoxi, this, Ningxi. How can you? Xueluo's sobbing voice suddenly came from behind. She crossed her arms and said leisurely, what about me? Xueluo looked at her with anger and pity. You still can't let go of Brother Yang, so you hate me so much. You hate me for taking him away, but how can you be so selfish and break us up in such a despicable way? Brother Yang doesn't love you at all. What's the point of doing this? Seeing Xueluo was so emotional that she was almost out of breath, Su Yang hurriedly patted her on the back to comfort her. Xueluo, calm down. I think Xiaoxi just said it casually. She looked at the two of them with a smile as if they were playing a life and death drama. I didn't say it casually, unless you said you can do anything you want just now. Brother Yang, look at her. We sincerely begged her for forgiveness, but what did she do? She made things difficult for us again and again. Are you really going to agree to her shameless request? Xueluo looked up at Su Yang in panic and helplessness. Silly girl, how could I? Su Yang gently touched her head and then looked at Ningxi sternly. I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, I can't agree to this request. Ningxi finally lost her interest and sneered. The next second, her eyes were as sharp as a knife. Then get out of my sight. Ningxi, what's wrong with you? It's my fault. It has nothing to do with Brother Yang. Why do you treat him like this? Xueluo defended Su Yang. She clapped her hands. The relationship between the two of you is so touching and tearful. Then, Xueluo, you must be willing to do anything to atone for your sins. You are willing to do anything for Su Yang, right? Xueluo frowned when she heard that. Who knew what kind of trap this woman was waiting for her? However, she could only answer this question, of course. What do you want? She deliberately pondered for a long time, and then said under Xueluo's vigilant gaze, in this case, Su Yang doesn't want to dump you. As long as you give up the identity of the eldest daughter of the Ning family in the capital and return to the Tang family village in Spring Breeze Town to be your Tang Xueluo, then the bad debt between the three of us will be written off. Xueluo's eyes widened as if she had heard something extremely terrifying. She shook her head uncontrollably and said, No. No. Xueluo suddenly opened her eyes wide as if she had heard something terrible. How can you force me to leave my father and mother? Force me to leave the place where I've lived for more than 20 years? She waved her hand impatiently and interrupted her. All right. Your acting skills are so bad. You'd better not act anymore. It hurts my eyes. I've already told you to get as far away from me as you can. It was you who came to me again and again, begging for my forgiveness and asking me to make requests. You even swore that you could ask for anything. When I asked, you two looked at me and said, Oh, you are so ruthless, shameless and unreasonable. Oh, what do you mean by making up for it? It's just an insignificant charity without harming your own interest. You don't think it's hypocritical, but I think it's disgusting, so I can only give you one word. Get away. Chapter 129. When Su Yang and Ning Xueluo returned to the dressing room, both of them were disheveled. Ning Xueluo stood in front of the man helplessly and a tear rolled down from the corner of her eye. Brother Yang, do you blame me? Blame me for not agreeing to Ningxi's request? Su Yang reached out to wipe away her tears. Why would I blame you? Ning Xueluo threw herself into his arms as if she had been redeemed. Brother Yang, thank you. Thank you for believing in me and understanding me. It's not that I can't let go of the wealth of the Ning family. I just can't let go of my parents. When I think of leaving them and thinking that I can never see them again, come on, don't cry. I know. Su Yang patted her back and sighed. I was too naive. I thought she was still the old Xiaoxi. Xueluo, I promise you, from today onwards, I won't let her hurt you because of her. I won't let her hurt you again, Brother Yang. Ning Xueluo looked at the man in front of her with infatuation. She put her smooth arms around his neck and kissed him. This is the set. What if someone sees us? So what if I see it? You're my boyfriend, Ning Xueluo said coquettishly. She sat on his lap and stroked his chest, unbuttoning his shirt one by one. Oh, Ningxi, I want to sleep with your man. So what? After a while, there was a suggestive gasp in the dressing room. Brother Yang, you are great. Use more strength. Use more strength. Brother Yang, who do you think is better, me or Ningxi? Who is better? Of course it's you. In terms of appearance, Ningxi was better, but she was too shy and introverted. She didn't know how to do things between men and women, let alone take the initiative to make him happy. At first, he liked her because she was different from other girls. But as time went by, she seemed too bland. However, the current Ningxi was like a completely different person, as if, like a demon, her personality had become so bad and unreasonable, but he couldn't take his eyes off her. The man's breathing became more and more rapid, and the last thing that appeared in the sea was that indifferent face with a faint smile. Sister Xueluo, the shoot is about to start. Can I call the makeup artist in to do your makeup? The little assistant blushed and stood awkwardly outside the door. She had been by Ning Xueluo's side for so long that she was already used to this kind of thing. What pure and innocent girl. She was clearly a whore. They should really hear how wild the goddess in their hearts was in bed. Ningxi was already ready. After waiting for another half an hour, Ning Xue finally came over slowly. I'm sorry to keep everyone waiting. My skin isn't in a good state today, so it took me some time to put on makeup. Ning Xueluo explained apologetically. Her voice was hoarse and lazy. She looked at Ningxi with a faint complacency and provocation. When she passed by her, she deliberately pulled her collar, revealing the red kiss mark on her neck. Her face was flushed, her eyes were watery, and there was a sweet smell on her body. It was as if she was afraid that others could not see what she had just done. The veins on Ningxi's forehead twitched. If it wasn't for the filming, she would be so disgusted that she didn't even want to breathe the same air as her for a minute. Guo Qisheng clapped his hands. Okay, since everyone is here, let's start. Everyone in position, action. Chapter 130. At dusk, in a sea of bamboos. Two women stood facing each other, one in a gorgeous red dress and the other in a flawless white dress. Shangguan Ingrong said sternly, Meng Chang'e, I understand that you avenged your brother, but isn't it enough that you killed concubine Xian? Are you going to destroy the world? Meng Chang'e's long red sleeves fluttered in the wind like flames. He looked down at the people in front of him disdainfully and said, the world was conquered by the Meng family. So what if I destroy it now? Shangguan Ingrong was furious and said, You are unreasonable. You used to be a general and protected a country. Why are you so narrow-minded? Are you willing to see the flames of war and the people be plunged into misery and suffering 100 years later? Meng Chang'e's black hair danced in the wind. He looked down and touched his exquisite long nails and said in a crazy tone, After I die, who cares about the flood? It's perfect. Guo Qisheng was so excited that he didn't know what else to say except perfect. Yi Linglong came to the scene of the show. After watching it, she let out a long sigh of relief and said with a relieved expression, Actually, in this show, the character I put the most effort into is not Shangwon Ingrong but Meng Changa. And I didn't set Meng Changa as a villain at the beginning. It's up to the audience to understand whether she is a good villain or not. And how the audience understands it depends on how the actors act. If she doesn't act well, she will be a villain that everyone hates. If she acts well, the character will be very deep. Obviously, Ningxi was the latter. Guo Chixing was excited and said confidently, I have a feeling that Ningxi will win an award. Wang Taihe also nodded. She is a good seedling. Xing Hui lost Zhou Qingqing and got Ningxi. What a great deal. Cut. Very good. Take a break and let's go on. The show was over again. Guo Chixing's depressed mood because of Jiang Mui's accident was instantly lifted. After returning to the rest area, Ning Xueluo asked her assistant as soon as she sat down, what were the directors talking about? The assistant wanted to say something but stopped on second thought, as if she didn't know what to say. Did you praise Ningxi? Ning Xueluo sneered. The assistant nodded. Director Guo said that Ningxi acted perfectly. Scriptwriter Yi said that Ningxi's acting skills were so good that she portrayed Meng Changa as a decent man. Producer Wang also praised Ningxi, saying that she would have a better future than Zhou Qingqing. Director Guo also said. What else? They also said that Ningxi's role could win an award. The little assistant said weakly. Ning Xueluo slammed the armrest of the bench. How arrogant. Nowadays, winning an award depends on one's background. Don't you need to do something to win it? Even if she won an award, so what? It's just a best supporting female role. Isn't it just for me? The little assistant echoed, Sister Xue Luo is right. She's just a vixen, how can she compare to you? The audience is not blind. Ning Xueluo's expression softened a little, but the gloominess between her eyebrows did not dissipate. She lowered her voice and said, we can do what we've arranged before now. The little assistant exclaimed and then hurriedly covered her mouth. Are we really going to do it? However, this was too dangerous. What if you cut the crap? I told you to do it, so do it. Ning Xueluo looked impatient. Got it. I'll go and tell that person right now. At this time, Su Yang's concerned voice came from behind. Xueluo, what's wrong? You don't look so good. Chapter 131. When Ning Xueluo saw him, she immediately put on a shy expression. It's all your fault. You made me so tired. You were the one who wanted to provoke me. Su Yang looked helpless. Then he lifted the plastic bag in his hand. I bought some chicken porridge for you so that you won't complain about being tired all the time. You're so annoying. The second scene followed right after the first one. It was a fight scene in the bamboo forest. Shangwon Ingrong saw that Meng Changa had turned into a demon and wouldn't listen to anything. After a brief hesitation, she decided to kill her on the spot to prevent future trouble. After more than 2 hours of guidance from the martial arts director, the two finally learned enough. The director was going to find them a martial arts double, but Ningxi was good at martial arts and had even been a stunt double for others before. She definitely didn't need it, and Ning Xueluo also said that she wanted to do it herself. Guo Chixing naturally wanted a better movie effect, so he agreed. A professional master helped the two of them set up the suppressive force. After checking several times to make sure that nothing went wrong, the shooting began. Meng Changa is dead. Shangwon Ingrong closed her eyes and said the words with heartache and pity. Standing in front of her was only a beautiful and dangerous shell, a weapon that would destroy the world. The next second, a murderous look flashed in Shangwon Ingrong's eyes. At the same time, she suddenly pulled out the long sword from her waist and attacked Meng Changa. Meng Changa seemed to have expected her to do this. He stood there calmly until the sword was close to the tip of his nose. Only then did he suddenly stretch out his arms, the tips of his feet scraping the ground as he glided backwards like a bird, dodging Shangwon Ingrong's attack. Shangwon Ingrong sneered and attacked again. Meng Changa dodged unhurriedly like a cat playing with a mouse. Finally, he pulled out the soft sword from the waist of the red chiffon dress and fought back fiercely. After a dozen moves, Shangguan Ingrong gradually fell into a disadvantage and was almost knocked down from the branch by Meng Chang'e several times. Even though Shangguan Ingrong was very good at martial arts, she was like a child in front of Meng Chang'e who had killed thousands of soldiers. Shangguan Ingrong thought too highly of herself and thought that Meng Chang'e's skills would definitely deteriorate after staying in the palace for a long time. Who knew that when they fought, she was completely no match for him. Unfortunately, it was too late for her to realize that she had underestimated him. In the end, Meng Chang'e finally had enough. With a cold look in his eyes, he thrust his sword towards Shangguan Ingrong's chest. Poochie, it was the sound of a sharp weapon entering flesh. Shangguan Ingrong clutched her chest with a pained expression and fell from the bamboo sea like a kite with a broken string. Next, there would be a close-up of Meng Chang'e's expression. Guo Qixing was watching Ningxi's performance attentively, but he found that Ningxi's expression was not right. Ningxueluo is injured. Save them. Hurry. Ningxi, who was still in the air by the steel wire, suddenly shouted. After being stunned for a moment, the staff finally realized that it was not a script. Ningxueluo was really injured. Chaos ensued. Everyone surrounded Ningxueluo. After being put down, Ningxi quickly pressed down on Ningxueluo's bleeding wound. Call an ambulance. As soon as she finished speaking, her body was suddenly knocked away by someone. Su Yang ran over in shock and hugged Ningxueluo tightly in his arms. Xueluo, are you okay? Brother Yang. I'm in pain, don't be afraid, I'm here. You'll be fine. You'll definitely be fine. Chapter 132. Ningxi was speechless. Damn it, I was massaging her just fine, but you suddenly pushed me away and then looked at her with a pained expression as she bled out. Are you crazy? Are you addicted to acting in melodramatic dramas? If it weren't for the inappropriate occasion, Ningxi would have cursed him with her hands on her hips. What's going on? Guo Qixing rushed over angrily. Ningxi pinched her eyebrows. I didn't feel right until I stabbed her in. The sword didn't retract. It was a spring sword that would retract when it encountered resistance, but she hadn't expected such an accident to happen. Guo Qixing was furious. Where's the prop master? Come here. I told you to check the props carefully and that there can't be any accidents. How did you do it? The prop master stumbled over, sweating profusely. Director Guo, it was fine when I checked it. There can't be any problems. Guo Qixing threw the script at his face and roared, then tell me what's going on now. Problems kept happening to the crew, and his patience was really reaching its limit. At this moment, Wang Taihe suddenly asked, then who was the last person to touch this sword? Should be Ningxi. I gave the sword to her after checking it and she has been practicing with it. It's my fault. I didn't check it again after we started filming. The prop master apologized repeatedly. Hearing this, Ningxi's pupils contracted. If she still didn't understand what had happened, she wouldn't be able to continue working. At this moment, everyone had different expressions on their faces. Guo Qixing glared at the prop master and then at Ningxi. Suppressing his anger, he said, we'll talk about this later. Hurry up and send her to the hospital. And seal off the scene. Don't let the news get out. The First People's Hospital of B City. Su Yang was treating Ningxueluo's wound while Ningxi was standing in the corridor outside the ward, leaning against the cold wall. Her brain was working fast. Ningxueluo was indeed the founder of the Little White Flower. Even the trick of injuring herself to gain the confidence of others was very powerful. Wasn't she afraid that she would stab her to death? It was a pity that she had stopped the moment she realized something was wrong. Ningxueluo's wound wasn't deep and it was just a superficial wound. But the follow-up problems caused by this incident were too troublesome. Her top priority was to find a way to clear herself of suspicion. Ningxi was in deep thought when she suddenly heard a rush of footsteps. Just as she raised her head, she heard a slap and felt a burning pain on her face. Bastard! How could you do such a thing to Xueluo? If you have any grievances, come at me. I was the one who wanted to keep her in the Ning family. I was the one who was willing to spoil her. What did Xueluo do wrong? The person who came screamed at her hysterically, his eyes as though he was looking at an enemy with a blood feud. Ningxi wiped the trace of blood from the corner of her mouth, slowly raised her head, motionlessly looking at the luxurious, noble and elegant lady in front of her, her mother. Behind Zhuang Lingyu is her father Ning Yaohua. His eyes are also filled with disgust. If anything happens to Xue Luo, I won't forgive you. The two people in front of her, one is her biological mother and the other is her biological father. From the beginning to the end, they didn't ask a single word and just scolded and threatened her. She has thousands of vicious words that can make them foam at the mouth. But at this moment, she seems to be drained of all her energy. She doesn't want to say a single word and just stared at the two of them coldly. Chapter 133. Evil Creature. What's with that look? Ning Yaohua was furious. He was about to lose his temper when the door was pushed open from the inside. Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu immediately forgot about Ningxi and rushed over. Su Yang, how is Xue Luo? She's fine for the time being. You can go in and see her, Su Yang answered tiredly and looked at Ningxi whose face was red and swollen. Zhuang Lingyu immediately threw herself in front of Ning Xue's bed and looked her up and down. Mom, sweetheart, how are you? Does it still hurt? How do you feel? Ning Xue smiled weakly. Mom, I'm fine now. The doctor said it's just a superficial wound. Zhuang Lingyu touched her hair lovingly. You're a girl. How can you say you're fine with such a big scar? If the sword had been deeper, you would have lost your life. That wretched girl, how could she be so cruel? You should at least call her sister. Sister. Ning Xue looked sad and then she forced herself to say, Dad, Mom, don't blame her. It's not her fault. It's the prop that went wrong. Ning Yaohua snorted. Silly child, why are you so silly? How could there be a problem with the prop? He then shouted at Ningxi, who was at the door, Beast, what are you waiting for? Get your ass in here and apologize to Xue Luo. Ningxi's indifferent expression was like a thick and indestructible mask. I have nothing to apologize to her for. If you want me to apologize, show me the evidence. If you have the evidence, I can even give my life to her. Ning Yaohua pointed at her with a trembling finger. You're still so stubborn. I'm giving you face by not investigating it. You won't repent until you see the coffin, right? Do you really want to embarrass me? Ha, in Ning Yaohua's eyes, his face was always the most important thing. She sneered. If I really wanted to take revenge on her, you should be looking at her dead body now. Would I still have the chance to pretend to be a father and daughter? Ning Yaohua slammed the table. Don't talk nonsense with me. Ningxi, are you going to apologize or not? If you admit your mistake, apologize, and then leave the entertainment industry, I can pretend that this never happened, but if you insist on going your own way. Thank you, but I choose to be stubborn. Ningxi snorted, waved her hand, and left without looking back. Zhuang Lingyu's face was full of disbelief. Look at what she looks like. I can't believe I gave birth to such a bastard. Ning Yaohua was so angry that he spun in circles. Evil creature. Evil creature. How infuriating. Ning Xueluo said anxiously, Dad, forget it. I'm fine now. Don't be mad at my sister. Don't let it affect your health. I already let her go last time, but she actually did such a thing. This time, she hurt you. Maybe next time, she will really kill you. I can't let this matter go. But, Dad, all right, you don't have to worry about this. I will handle it. That's right. Let your dad handle it. Take care of yourself. Your dad will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. Ning Xueluo's eyes were red. She suppressed her grievance and looked very touched. Thank you, Mom, Dad. You really don't have to do this. I'm fine. Su Yang, who had been silent since just now, patted her on the shoulder. Xueluo, you're too kind. She has gone too far this time. Uncle is right. You can't let her do as she pleases. Chapter 134. When Ningxi walked out of the hospital, it was already late at night. There were no stars or moon in the sky, and there were only sporadic cars and pedestrians on the street. She admitted that Ning Xueluo's methods were very clumsy and unskilled, but she still succeeded. She always used the things that she cared about the most to hit her. For example, Su Yang, her parents. Sometimes, she even deeply doubted herself. Was it all her own fault? Was it because she was too terrible, too unbearable? That was why they all hated her, despised her, and abandoned her. She even wondered if there was any point in her struggling until now. Even if one day she achieved her goal and got everything, no one in the world would care. She was still alone. Ning, she was in a daze, walking aimlessly on the side of the road. She didn't notice that a black car without a license plate was following her stealthily. When she walked to a place with no one nearby, two people quickly got out of the car. One covered her mouth and nose with a wet towel from behind, and the other tied her up with a rope and dragged her into the car. The whole process took less than 5 seconds. When Ning she realized it, she had lost her strength under the effect of the drug. Her body was also tightly tied up, and there was no room for resistance. Ning Xi's pale lips showed a bitter smile. She had been framed and kidnapped. This birthday of hers was really fulfilling. The car drove steadily for a long time. Ning Xi's eyes were covered with a black cloth. She didn't know where the car was going, and she didn't know who the other party was. Ning Xueluo's people? It didn't seem like it. Ning Xueluo had won today, so there was no need for her to do anything unnecessary. Then who could it be? Who did she offend recently? Just when Ning Xi was puzzled, she heard the voice of one of the men in front of her. Hello, Mr. Zhu. Yes, we have taken care of her. We are on the way. Yes, don't worry, we will deliver it to you on time. This girl is so real. Both of us are attracted to her. Ha ha ha, how would we dare? We will definitely deliver it to you in one piece. Ning Xi was horrified. Mr. Zhu. She suddenly remembered that she went to the wrong room at the Pearl Hotel last night. Could this Mr. Zhu be Zhu Xiangcheng? Could it be that he didn't succeed that day and was unwilling to give up, so he sent someone to kidnap her? The more Ning she thought about it, the more likely it was. She cursed silently. When she was about to find a way to escape, the effect of the helpless hypnosis became stronger and stronger. Her consciousness became more and more blurred, and soon she completely fell into darkness. When Ning Xi regained some consciousness, she found that she was still blindfolded. She could hear two women talking in the room. She was in a daze and could not hear what they were talking about. She could only feel them taking off all her clothes quickly and changing her into a thin nightgown. Then, they sprinkled something that looked like flower petals on her body. The more Ning Xi thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. With Zhu Xiangcheng's lustful personality, if he really wanted a woman, how could he be so patient? He would have tied her up and done it right away. Now, he was helping her change her clothes and scattering flower petals. She could even smell the perfume they sprayed on her. Damn fat pig. Old pervert. If you want to kill me, just do it. What are you doing? Chapter 135. Zhu Xiangcheng heard that Lu Tingxiao would be attending a business cocktail party tonight. He had rushed over early and made several preparations. The result was just as he had expected. Lu Tingxiao was unmoved by force or persuasion. He had painstakingly gotten his hands on a priceless antique painting, but Lu Tingxiao did not even look at it. Instead, he gave it to Zhu Xiangcheng with a cute little girl. Lu Tingxiao looked at him as if he was looking at a daylily. Just as Zhu Xiangcheng was feeling anxious, the phone he had been waiting for finally rang. Hey, why are you calling so late? Are you guys done? Yes, we're already on our way. Hurry up. You have to send her over in 10 minutes. Room 808, don't get it wrong, don't worry, we'll definitely send her over on time. TSK, Director Zhu, the girl you found is a real one. Both of us are moved by her. If you two dare touch her, don't even think about getting the rest of the money. I have great use for this woman. She can't be missing a single hair. Not far away, Lu Tingxiao, who was sitting on a high stool, looked down at the time on his watch. He straightened his cuffs and stood up, looking like he was about to leave. At this moment, a man abruptly emerged from the swimming pool. With a flick of his hair, a cool splash was created. He had healthy and attractive wheat-colored skin, 6 beautiful abdominal muscles above his belly button, and mermaid lines below that would make countless men envious and want to have them. The man raised his arrogant and handsome face, his wet hand grabbing Lu Tingxiao's calf as he was about to leave. He said in a displeased tone, Hey, Lu Tingxiao, I'm the one who started the party tonight. Can't you give me some face? You're leaving after only half an hour. Moreover, you didn't even drink a sip of wine when you came to the banquet. There are so many good wines and beauties here, but none of them can make you stay longer. Let go. Lu Tingxiao frowned. He looked like he was going to crush Zhu Xiangqing's bones in the next second. At this moment, Lu Jingli walked over from behind with a glass of wine in his hand. He said with a smile, Brother Tian, can't you see that my brother's mind isn't here tonight? He's already giving you face by staying here for half an hour. Mo Lingtian lay on the edge of the pool with a sloppy smile on his face. If his mind isn't with me, then whose mind is with him? He doesn't have a woman. Lu Jingli looked as if his eyes were going to pop out of their sockets as he snorted. Who said there isn't? There will be one soon. What? This is too much. As expected, Mo Lingtian was shocked. He jumped out of the swimming pool with a splash. His face was full of anger for being betrayed. You said that brothers will walk together for life. Whoever gets a girlfriend first is a dog. Lu Tingxiao glanced at him with a straight face. I don't remember promising you something so boring. Lu Jingli couldn't help but complain. Brother Tian, you're all alone, so you can do whatever you want. My brother has a son, so he has the responsibility of finding a mother for the child. Who is that woman? Mo Lingtian frowned and asked. Lu Tingxiao glanced at his watch again. His expression was already extremely impatient. He directly strode forward, completely ignoring him. Fuck. How dare you ignore me? As expected, once you have a woman, you lose your humanity. Mo Lingtian cursed from behind. After Lu Tingxiao left, Lu Jingli followed. Compared to the boring cocktail party, he was more interested in seeing how his brother flirted with girls. Hey, brother, you're in such a hurry to go back. Are you going to celebrate sister-in-law's birthday? Quick, tell me, what surprise did you prepare? I'll give you some information. Lu Jingli was chattering away behind Lu Tingxiao when a fat ball suddenly rushed out from the side. Boss Lu. Second young master. The person was sweating profusely. It seemed like he had caught up in a hurry. Lu Jingli raised his eyebrows slightly. Yo, Director Zhu. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? I am looking for Boss Lu. Zhu Xiangqing looked at Lu Tingxiao with a flattering expression. He handed over a thin gilded room card with both hands. Boss Lu, this is a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it. His meaning was obvious. He had prepared a woman in the room for Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 136. Lu Tingxiao couldn't be bothered to deal with anyone at the moment. In order to avoid wasting time, he took the room card and continued to stride forward. Zhu Xiangqing was relieved to see him accept it, but he was worried about whether he would go or not. Lu Jingli followed behind him with a dubious expression. Wow. Brother, you're so lucky. Zhu Xiangqing is really desperate this time. He will definitely make a big move, so the woman he found for you must not be ordinary. Brother, do you want it? Well, you already have a sister-in-law. You won't even look at her. Then give me your room card, just give it to me. I'm very curious what kind of celestial immortal Zhu Xiangqing has found. Lu Tingxiao's fingertips moved slightly, and the room card flew straight to Lu Jingli in the next second. Lu Jingli caught it accurately with 2 fingers, and his face was full of joy. Then I'm going Yo, 808, and it's a presidential suite. Lu Jingli took the room card, hummed a song, and walked happily to the guest room area at the back. The elevator went straight to the top floor. Lu Jingli put one hand in his pocket and walked straight to the room at the end of the corridor. When he reached the door, he took out the room card and opened the door with a ding. Before opening the door, Lu Jingli thought that he was just curious to see what would happen. What if the woman inside fell in love with him and refused to let him go? Although he didn't want to marry, he was a serious person and only accepted serious relationships. Creak, the door was finally pushed open. After opening the door, he saw a kilogram-sized bed sprinkled with red rose petals. A woman was lying in the middle of the bed. Between the petals, he could vaguely see that she was wearing an extremely thin nightgown and a pair of white and straight legs. Just this pair of beautiful legs was enough to make a man's imagination run wild. Zhu Xiangqing really put in a lot of effort this time. Lu Jingli continued to take 2 steps in as he thought about it. Then, he saw the woman's face. Although his eyes were covered with a piece of white lace cloth, he still recognized who the woman on the bed was at a glance. Oh! Lu Jingli jumped up in fright as if he had seen a ferocious beast, and his body hit the door with a loud sound. Then, he slammed the door and ran downstairs like a gust of wind. He ran all the way to the garage door and saw Lu Tingxiao's car driving out, so he rushed over to block his way. After the ear-piercing screech of the brakes, Lu Tingxiao stopped the car with an ugly expression on his face. Lu Jingli banged on the car window, and before Lu Tingxiao could scold him, he pulled him out of the car and urged him, "Brother, come with me." "What is it?" "It's urgent." It was an extremely urgent matter. "Come with me and you'll know. There's only one thing that matters to me now. I know you're only thinking about sister-in-law now. This is also related to sister-in-law." Therefore, Lu Tingxiao immediately followed her. Just like that, the two hurried back to the presidential suite 808. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the door in front of him, his face as cold as frost. His eyes signaled for Lu Jingli to give him an explanation. Why did he suddenly go crazy and bring him here? Lu Jingli wiped his face and opened the electronic lock with a beep. "Go in and see for yourself." Lu Tingxiao's expression changed slightly when he heard that, and he reacted almost immediately. "Could it be, you're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel? We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.